Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My name is Rashid Aftab. I'm heading of Faculty of Public Policy for International University. I will be moderator of this session, which is very critical in context with the water governance. Uh, as far as water governance is concerned, I think when we talk about governance or any aspect of the governance, which includes water as well. It has a political dynamics, it has a social dynamics, it has an economic dynamic, as well as administrative influences on the water system. That is, and uh, I think that process is not a governance unless until it is being compatible with the good governance factors or the parameters, which includes equity, which includes responsiveness, which includes transparency, which includes accountability, which includes efficiency and effectiveness. So unless until these aspects are not being complied with, that system is not a governable system. In Pakistan context, if we talk about the governance, I think water sector is predominantly governed by like a technical bureaucracy. And it is considered that since the governance falls under the domain of the social sciences, they are not much aware of the social system, which is more related with the how the power is being exercised, whether that power of the system is exercised judiciously, transparent manner, and effectively and efficiently. So that is very much critical. And I hope in today's sessions we will be able to determine the factors which are associated with the malfunctioning of the system, and what is the way forward in order to address those factors. And I believe when I think in terms of water governance, I think if I write a mathematical equation of water governance, I think it includes leadership, which involves decisions framework. It includes the institutions which are involved. It includes the policy instruments, whether any policy instrument, highest policy instrument is the law, and policies, strategies, visions, all these are the instruments of. It includes the stakeholders as well, and it includes the processes. And so I think the most important thing when we talk about stakeholders, because primarily our system of governance is predominantly governed by the public sector, whether the participation of the civil societies and the communities are reflected in that governance process or not. So this would be an interesting session. This session is comprises of two parts. One will be two keynote speakers will be there, our colleagues, friends from OIC countries. And the second part of this session will be comprises of a panel discussions where the four panelists will participate. And in the last, there will be a concluding remarks by our eminent scientist. So first of all, I request for our first keynote speaker, Dr. Majid Labef Kanekari, who is assistant professor, University of Nizawa, Oman. He is going to speak about the Karez water governance system, hydro social cycles, leads to the resilience in the arid regions. So, Dr. Majid, please. You are going to give the presentation? Okay. So,
Uh, Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for having me in this invaluable conference. I'm going to talk about tariff system or Renault system or village system in the OIC countries, and actually the legacy of this traditional system for our water governance. Uh, mm, Yesterday, we talked about climate change and the increasing pressure on our water resources in our countries, and actually the possibilities and possible solutions to the growing problem of water scarcity or water problems as a whole in our countries. And actually traditional water knowledge can be one of those possibilities because our ancestors in the past faced many ups and downs in their climate, and actually they could adapt themselves and their production system to their changing environment. About 800 years ago, in the Middle East, a very big area of the Middle East, we had a persistent drought that lasted for more than 150 years, more than 1 century, one and a half century. And the climatic condition was very harsh and actually, you can say more arid than what you see today. And so those people could ride out the climatic pressure by means of canal system. And so, canal system could enhance their adaptation to their climatic conditions and to the drought condition in those days. And so this is a very, very, very important lesson for us today that we can still learn from the knowledge of our ancestors somehow. And actually this presentation is some snapshots of this traditional legacy. And maybe, you know, these snapshots can inspire us to come up with some sustainable solutions to our today's problems. Now we want to talk about Paris or Renault water governance system and its hydrosocial cycles. And I hope I can go to the end of this presentation because I have only 15 minutes. So I skipped this model because, of course, everybody knows about the technical mechanism of canal systems. So this is a repetition if I want to talk about this again. Okay, let's go to this slide. This slide is more important. Actually, we have hydrosocial cycle, and this hydrosocial cycle is not limited to Paris system. In every hydraulic system, you can find something like this, hydrosocial cycle. If I go there, my voice, I think because this room is not that big, so you can hear me. Okay, here we have hydrological cycle, and this hydrological cycle can take place even in the absence of human being on the Earth's planet. So even before we set foot on this planet, this hydrological cycle was in place. So this is exactly the same cycle that we read in our hydrology books. Okay, this is exactly the same hydrological cycle that we saw in our hydrology books. So you can see how water travels from phase to phase, and so you have precipitation, you have percolation into the earth and going into the aquifer reserves or flowing on the surface as rivers. Okay, now human, after especially since 12,000 years ago, after the agricultural revolution in the actually fertile crescent in the Middle East. After the invention of agriculture, So we have a new element in the system, and actually human managed to interfere with the hydrological cycle by building a lot of hydraulic systems and actually interfering with hydrological systems in a social, political, and cultural way. And so they, for example, they dam the rivers, and so the rivers, in a natural course, the rivers were originated from the elevated lands and flowed down to the plain. And after that, the rivers disappeared in the plains or in the desert, or they poured into the sea and oceans. But people dammed it, transferred it, stored it. And on what basis? What were the criteria? They took this water from some population. For what? On what basis? Because those populations, maybe they were farther from the core of power, political power. They took it from some people. They gave it to other people. And so now you see that the hydrological course of water was in a constant change. And it applies to the ballast system. We had a current of underground water, and the ballast system or canal system or ballast system were built to trap this water and to harvest this water and to transfer this to other regions. And actually, what is the philosophy behind the ballast system? In the alluvial fans and at the base of the mountains, we have a very sort of ironic contradiction or paradoxical contradiction. What is this contradiction? The contradiction is that water is abundant in the elevated lands, higher altitude, where you don't have fertile soil. So you have plenty of water, but you don't have fertile soil because the texture of soil, this is full of gravels, and the sediment is very porous, so we cannot irrigate or not easy to irrigate that land because of the high rate of percolation and seepage into the air. Okay, the storage capacity of soil is low. Okay, but we have plenty of water. But when you go down to the center of the plain, you have plenty of fertile soil and very good sediment, but no water. Or little water. So this is sort of paradox, a paradox. Okay, actually, they invented callus system to solve this dilemma. And so they took the water and transferred the water from the elevated lands to the center of the plain, and actually they made a connection between these two main resources. So water resources in the elevated lands or the upper reaches of the valley, and fertile soil in the lower reaches of the valley. So they make this connection. And after that, we have a social cycle, a very complicated social cycle. When ballast system came into existence, they had to invent a management system for that. And they had to ration water among hundreds and sometimes thousands of shareholders. And those social institutions came into being, and then irrigation system, and then agricultural system. And they had to choose some crops, specific crops, so this is very interesting. For example, in Oman, they selected some varieties of dates that is durable enough to be traded across the sea. So they selected some, this is genetic selections. So they selected some specific, I'm talking about the callus community. So they selected some dates, and after that, they actually homogenized the cropping pattern. More than 80% of their cropping pattern is dates, and especially that specific variety of it. Why? Because this kind of date is capable of being traded across the sea with India and Iran and other countries, and so this kind of dates cannot be rotted and cannot go moldy in the sea environment. So this is a very good invention. So the callus system, why? Because with carrots or with canal system, they irrigated the date palms, not different types of crops, only date palms. And after that, they traded dates with other communities and other territories for other goods and other commodities. So they could import different types of commodities, from spices to textiles to clothes to tools, everything. So it's a virtual water. So carrots and virtual water go hand in hand. This is the first lesson we should learn from this. And so it is not a must for us to cultivate all our deserts. So if one of the carrots holding country is Algeria. I've been in Algeria a couple of weeks ago. And you know, one of the biggest desert of the world is located in Algeria, Sahara. And now Sahara, all the time, they are giving permission to the farmers, or you know, they used to be carrot holders. But now they are getting permits from the government to drill few wells. And in the Sahara, and you know that they have the vastest or largest aquifer in the world. And this aquifer, the Sahara aquifer, covers an area of 1 million square kilometers. 1 million square kilometers. And now they are sucking off this groundwater, and this groundwater is not renewable, almost not renewable. And now they are sucking off, and now they are bringing more and more lands under cultivation by means of new technologies and pumps. But if you ask them in the past what they did, I mean, what the carrot holding communities did in the past, they produce date palms, the same technique as you see in Oman. Just 2 or 3 varieties of dates that are durable enough and can be traded across vast areas and across long distances. And they traded these dates with other commodities they needed in the past. And so virtual water was the solution to the desert communities. Virtual water. So they didn't insist on agriculture. But now I don't know what happened to us. We want to cultivate all our deserts. Okay. And this is a model of the different socio-economic spaces that take shape, or we can say crystallize, around Halaj or Paris itself. So one important thing about carrot system is fluctuation. Carrot water is not constant, typically not constant. And actually, carrot water correlates with the amount of your rainfall. The more you have rainfall, the more water will flow out of your carrot gallery. And so there is a correlation between there. And so in the past, this is the second lesson. The first lesson was visual water. The second lesson, people adapted and adjusted themselves to their existing water, not vice versa, but not the other way around. But now we adjust our water to our needs. But in the past, people adjusted themselves to their water, again through importing virtual water. And here you can see the gallery and the wells. And here immediately we have the white circle is the public space around the exit of the terrace. And this, in the public space, water is free of charge. Yesterday, one of the speakers talked about water as a public commodity. Public commodity, or people should be charged for water. So in the traditional society, they solve this dilemma. And when it comes to drinking water and sanitation, the water was free. So they didn't need to pay for water. So everybody has the right, everybody was entitled to drinking water and water for sanitation and domestic uses. And this place, the white place is a free zone. So people could go there and collect water. The second, the gray zone. The gray zone was semi polluted because here you have some current, some flow on the surface, and actually some houses had more access to this flow. On what basis? On the basis of social status. If you are a general, if you are a clergyman, if you are a ruler, you have the right and you have a better chance to build your house closer to that house water. So you can see that in the gray zone, the urban layout follow the direction of the water. So this is very interesting. So you can say that social stratification is extracted in the layout, in the urban layout, based on the direction of water. Okay, so it's a degree. And another zone, the next zone is the farmlands, okay? And the farmlands is fixed and mostly orchards because they invested in trees, and so you cannot you cannot cut the tree. But for example, when you are short of water, you cannot forget about your trees, because you invested in your trees for many years. So they calculated, this is very interesting, they calculated the basic flow of the carrots, the basic flow. For example, 20 liters per second, this is the basic flow. And according to this basic flow, and according to their long experiences, and their father's experiences, and so they actually envision a certain area of orchards based on the basic flow. If they have any excess water during the wet years, they have the yellow area for other crops, for vegetables, for wheat, barley, and so whatever. And actually, this area is based on the excess water that can occur in most years. In most years, it says that this is not basic flow, but can occur in most years. And sometimes they have exceptional excess water. Exceptional excess water goes to the communal land. This is interesting, really interesting. So they prepare some lands for some rainy years. If they have exceptional excess water, they direct this water to the communal land, and they cultivate together, and they harvest together, and they divide this crop among all the members of the population, because everybody contribute to the cultivation of this land. So, and after that, we have a dynamic, a fuzzy border, and this fuzzy border delimits the hinterland of carrots. What is the hinterland of carrots? The hinterland of carrots is the whole area in which you can trade your crops and your harvest with other communities and import virtual water to your village. And it is called your hinterland. And in some cases, this hinterland is extremely large. For example, in Oman, the hinterland of the carrots community goes beyond the border of the country. And in the past, it reached India, Persia, and even Tanzania, Zanzibar in Africa. Okay. Okay, now another, the third lesson is time for water division, not volume of water. Nowadays, when we want to give permission to our tube wells, we consider the volume of water, at least in Iran, as far as I know. I'm not sure about Pakistan. This is based on volume of water. When you want to give permit to the farmer, you say that you have the right to extract, for example, 2 cubic or 20 cubic meters of water per day, for example. Yeah, this is the base. But in the past, in the carrots communities, they didn't use volume. Mostly, in most of them, they use time for water division. They said that you have the right to irrigate your land for a certain period of time. for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, or 24 hours. Okay, so what? Why they consider time for water revision? Because of fluctuation. Because they wanted to put pressure on it, and they couldn't actually, because they didn't have technological means for that. They didn't put pressure on the groundwater reserves by extracting a certain amount of water under any circumstances. But nowadays, the farmers don't care about drought or water shortage. If you give them a permit of, for example, 20 cubic meters per day, they extract the same amount of money under any circumstances, and they don't care about your warning. And if you tell them, oh, excuse me, sir, could you please extract less because now we are in a bad condition and we have a drought. They say, okay, now I have a permit. I'm extracting water according to my permit. What are you talking about? But in the past, okay, imagine that, that the basic flow is 20 liters per second. If they had more water, okay, to the benefit of everyone. So the share of everyone would be more. If they had less water, they subtracted equally from the share of everyone. So because you have only, for example, you have only 1 hour, the right 1 hour, this is the time for irrigation. Okay, 1 hour. And it doesn't matter how much water you can receive during this period of time. Does not matter. Okay, maybe more, maybe less, according to the total amount of water coming out of the current system. This is very interesting. Very interesting. So they solved this problem. Now I have time or finish? Over? Okay, so please warn me because now I don't keep track of time. Okay, now this is a model of irrigation cycle based on time. Again based on time. This is common in everywhere. Also in Balochistan, in Pakistan, in Iran, in Oman. I mean, almost in all cash holding societies. Okay, what is this? This is like a cube, a circular cube, based on time. For example, I have the right of irrigating my land for 1 hour, and after my time is up, next person, we take turn irrigating our land, one after another. Next person come and get the same water, the whole water, and direct the whole water to his land. And after that person number 3, person number 4. Okay, now after a few days, my day will come again. So it would be my turn again to irrigate my land for the second term. So from this time to another time is called irrigation cycle. Okay, just finish it. And from this time, okay, this is the irrigation cycle. But this is a formal irrigation cycle because this cycle, imagine that this cycle is eight days. It means that after 8 days, I can get my irrigation right again. But this is formal, and this is a standard irrigation cycle because my crop can be palm tree, can be other crops, and their irrigation demand is different from each other. So they have to irrigate in different rotations, in different intervals, with different intervals. For some crops, 8 days, for some crops, 6 days, for some crops, 3 days, something like that. Okay, so they have to swap with each other, their right swap. For example, I ask him, could you please give me 5 minutes because I have some problem. And okay, so this swap can create cooperation. Without swapping, without cooperation in an irrigation cycle, is based 100% on cooperation. So cooperation is inherent. I don't want to say that there are, our ancestors or traditional communities were intrinsically cooperative. They were in the trap of cooperation. They had to cooperate with each other. Okay, now I have to finish. I wanted to talk about intra-territorial cohesion and inter-territorial cohesion. This is another story. And based on water, food, and energy nexus, but yesterday some scholars talk about this, and cannot and pro-industrializations. And actually, this is about importing virtual water. I talked in the beginning of my presentation a little bit, so I don't regret about this, because I talked a little bit about importing virtual water based on industrialization, proto-industrialization. Thank you very much. And so, Eddie, I should take questions or later?
I think later.
Later, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Majid. Dr. Majid has given I think, an excellent model, the relationship between the hydro and the social cycle. And when he showed his cycle, this is a very interesting that the factors which were associated, or the variables which were associated with the hydro were then, and as far as the social sectors factors or the parameters or the variables were 15, which means the social are more complex. He also showed the model of fluctuation in Kanath water, which is time-based solution instead of a volume-based solution. And as well as he showed irrigation 12 days cycle as a social regulator, and in the last, the nexus of water, food, and energy nexus. Our next keynote speaker is Dr. Dilir Domulodos Hanov, who is from International Water, who is International Water and Land Specialist associated with the FAO Regional Office for Europe and Asia. He will be speaking on water governance in 5 Central Asian countries and 2 West Asian countries. Dr. Dilir, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. So let me share with you the result of our study we conducted in almost 7 OIC countries on transferring water management within the last several decades. Before I start to share more details about the result of our study, let me just provide you some historical information. So our study covered 7 states, and 6 of them have been part of the Soviet Union states, countries. And let's say the related to the using of irrigation, or let's say the managing irrigation systems, providing water to the food producers. It was heavily subsidized during the Soviet Union. Let's start from that end, that at the beginning of the 20th century, the total irrigated area in Central Asia, it was something like the close 1 million hectares. And starting from 1930s, development of the irrigation sector was boosted. So they have increased irrigation areas, irrigation plots from 1 million up to 9 million hectares. By 1970s, 1989, we already have more than 9 million hectares in 5 Central Asian countries, which extracting the water resources from 2 main arteria, water arteria, there's Amu Darya and Sir Darya. So unfortunately, this development was triggered, was caused for us a very dramatic, let's say, challenge, very dramatic scenario facing, which was as the circumstance, we have obtained drying the Aral Sea, which was really a big environmental crisis. And now we don't have any more, or let's say almost, Aral Sea was drained. And as the circumstance, now we can see that how the salt from dried bed of the Aral Sea now accelerating the process of the melting glaciers in Pamir area of Tajikistan and glaciers of Kyrgyzstan, and and also even in the north, and in the south part of our globe, which is all of these are causing. I mean, the scientists found partitions of the salt, which was transferred by the winds, strong winds. And what I under our study, let's say when we talk, we just carefully start to study country by country how the management of the water resources, the management of the water structures have been developed within, which was started, let's say, during the Soviet time, the development was very, very accelerated. Let's say we enlarged our irrigation areas. And at the beginning of the, let's say, 30 years ago, after collapsing Soviet Union, suddenly all these here, except the Turkey, all other 6 countries, they got independence from the Soviet Union. And how we start within our independent states, how the developments run, and who took over this management, the heavily subsidized by government of Soviet Union, the management of the irrigation infrastructure. So under our study, the main objective was to examine country-specific development, and also to identify the status and main challenges faced by each country. And let's say that maybe we will also look for the best scenarios of the management of this infrastructure, and also facilitating water governance, and in order to exchange within the regional countries. So as I mentioned, we have our study focused 7 countries, and our project will end soon. We still have several months to wrap up and print out several FAO publications, and there will be country-specific and also general one, which will integrate the result of the all countries study. So what we under our study, we also explore the state dynamics, and also engage serious the experience which at the national level each country have, and how they're going to, and what challenges they face, and that all this evolution of the water managing organizations, state or farmers-based organization, we try to look through that also, which kind of the laws or how laws or policy have been updated through this last, at least through the last 3 decades. As you see in this table, we have, so we are talking about something like the 16 million hectare, and out of this, almost 60% is, let's say, supported or covered by water user associations. So this type of the organization have been inherited, let's say, the management of on-farm irrigation system. So in many cases, water user association in all these countries are farmer-based, or let's say as non-governmental public organization, which grouping or unifying water users or farmers in certain area. In some cases, we will see that later on that they are based on the segregation is based on the hydraulical zones. In some cases, even it's administrative borders. And this all development, as you can see, that the earliest Turkey started in 1993 with, let's say, establishment of the Water User Association, but in Soviet Union, ex-Soviet Union countries, it was the first was the Kyrgyzstan, where they started to establish a new structure which was not experienced before. And they also, and the biggest share managed by Water User Association was in Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan, where they are almost 90% of the entire irrigated area. They are under command or are the management of the Water User Associations. Right? So let me just provide you brief information, but I mean, from state to state. So we will start with the Turkey, where this idea was, I mean, is working very well. They could succeed to use this model of water governance in the Turkey in the very good way and with the very, let's say, attractive results. And the Water User Association in Turkey, they're under management or under control of Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry. And they have established this directorate of the of waterworks, so which also has the divisions under the 25 river basins, and regional directorates also supporting the management of this irrigation system under the 90 local branch offices. So they have some technical staff, water engineers, supporting the irrigation agencies, and 2.3, almost 2.4 billion hectares served by the irrigation agency out of the 2.9 million which is existing. Yeah? So they also have different options of this organization, which is based on cooperation of cooperative of farmers or villages or municipalities. And in this slide, you can see that the evaluation, I mean, starting from 1990, the number of the Water User Association was increased. So the total number of irrigation agents peaked in 2018, and it was almost 400 irrigation agencies. And after 2011, Water User Law, Water User Association Law was approved, and they started to mix well-functional water user session with the, let's say, poor, let's say more or less poor functioning water user session, and enlarged the total area, service area. So, and by 2023, the number of the irrigation agencies decreased to 181, and the average service area was increased to 13,000 hectares per averagely per one water user association. The next example is Turkmenistan. So in Turkmenistan, they never run water user association. They simply follow the same, more or less the same structure as it was during the Soviet Union time. And the key agency, let's say, overarching or seeing the irrigation infrastructure and irrigation water distribution is State Committee for Water Management. So this organization, they have subdivision based on the certain hydraulic and also administrative zones, which divided by 5 regions, water management, let's say, they say is water management offices, based on certain okrug so I mean district or province, you know, which also having 50 district water management organizations at the district level, and also they are covering 9 sub river basins. And this organization, they also have Decon Association, I mean the farmers association, which mainly covering, providing the, so they're unifying the farmer organization to have some organization like the water users association, but it's under the state. And they're providing the service to 800 out of the 1.5 million hectares, just to half of the territory. And here you can see that how was the development of the Decon associations, how they come to the point, and now, so they have in average, there was this Decon Farm Association, they have been pushed by the state in order to produce main crops ordered by the state. So it's cotton, wheat, and rice. And there is a total number by 2010, there was almost 600 associations like this, and later on by 2022, they decreased the number, but increased the territory, service territory. Kazakhstan. So Kazakhs, the Kazakhstan, they started also in the beginning after the Kyrgyzstan to establish the water user association, but after they running something like the 15-20 years, they simply abolished water user association. So they decided that this model of the managing is not working under their circumstances in Kazakhstan. So, and again, the key agency is Ministry of Water and Irrigation of Kazakhstan. And the associations and the governance, they are based on the hydrographical zones or territories, and they have divided to 8 river basins, 8 basin inspections or river basin organizations. So they also have 8 river basin councils, which is more, you know, advisory board for the water river basin organizations. And operations they're based on the certain administrative boundaries. Yeah. So they also have state water operation KazSu, Kaz Water, with 18 regional and the municipality district branches over the entire country. And they're also providing support to 780,000 hectares out of the 1,400,000 hectares, say almost 50%. And here, the total number of established water user commissions peaked in 2015. And there was almost 500 water user commissions have been established. In 2024, the water user union. So they simply integrated these commissions to the unions to enlarge the total territory. So, and now a new water users union management model, they are going to try to shift from water user association to the unions, and to have these organizations to oversee the issues related to the water management, water governance, plus the using of the, let's say, more farming, let's say, more aspects or issues related to the farming will be also undertaken under their scope. And Uzbekistan, similar story. They also actively established water user association at the beginning. So after running some almost 20 years, they decided to stop using this model and start to abolish the water user association, and they moved to another model for managing of the irrigation infrastructure and irrigation. So also the key agency there is also Ministry of Water Resources of Uzbekistan. And the planning is based on the certain basin boundaries. So they have almost 13 basins, irrigation service authorities. So in their case, it's basin irrigation authorities having almost 51 sub-basin irrigation service authority, branches, which let's say under the supervision of the basin level organization. And now they're moving to the agro clusters. If before they have the water user associations, now they're moving to the almost 426 agro clusters. So now they also, the government is heavily subsidizing these agro clusters. They're, let's say, ordering which crops they have to produce, and also this production is not just the process is going also through the value chain. After, for instance, if the government, if the state ordering cotton, so it's the water supply. Under this cluster is supporting the farmers through the old, delivering of water, all the other agriculture inputs, fertilizers, etc. And after gathering, or let's say the harvesting, this agro cluster receiving the yield and starting processing. So at the end, they're providing the already good clothes, whatever, which was ordered by the government. So, now currently there is almost 3.7 million out of the 4.3 million hectare is under these agro clusters. And if you see the dynamics of the development, which, so the number of water users in 2010, it was peaked by 1,711 water users. And they gradually decreased it by 2019 to 1,500. And if you see after all these reforms, because this shifting from water user association to the agro clusters, it caused, let's say, it is the result of the series of the reforms, revision of the laws, and by 2022 the water user association was fully abolished. And now there is more, these agro clusters are functioning there, and they are covering almost 3.7 million hectares. From in total they have 4.3 million. Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan is, as I mentioned earlier, one of the pioneers in ex-Soviet Union countries practicing the water user association. And you can see that the key agency in Kyrgyzstan is the Ministry of Water Resources, Agriculture and Processing Industry. They have the water management, there was established, or governance was go through the 7 regional water authorities, 40 districts, and also 40 district water users support unit have been established, and they covered almost half of 60% of the entire territory was managed by the water user associations. And they have been managing or segregated the management based on the 5 river basin organizations, which also had the river basin councils, which was more the role was more advisory role. And here you can see that the total number of established water user association by 2023 is 490. And suddenly now they are deciding to stop now, or it's now they're going backwards. Now they're looking for the other modalities to replace the water user associations. So they still did not decide, but it will come soon, because it's very dynamically development is ongoing in this region. towards the water governance. And last but not the least is Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan, they are also they started to use this water use association modality. The management goes through the state water resources agency, and there was 14 economic regions. So, and through it goes through the 50 district departments and the 50 water user unions, support union, and also 33 irrigation schemes have been, let's say, the part of this management system. And 320 water user unions managed almost 1,320,000 hectares. And which was, let's say, under the three river basin. But however, no river basin organization, no river basin councils have been established. So they just stood at the level of the water user association only, or at least the river irrigation schemes, which is much bigger than water user union. Total number of the water user union peaked in 2010 and it reached 585. And in 2020, the water user union enlargement process started. So yeah, I'm almost finishing, thank you. And now they have 320 water user unions covering 1.3 million hectares. So Tajikistan. With Tajikistan, the situation is also similar in terms of now the water user association idea is rolling fully. So they're covering entire country, different districts, and the main agency, key agency is the Agency on Land Reclamation and Irrigation, having the branches in 42 districts, river basin zones, and currently 241 water user association is operating, and according by law there is a river basin organization, river basin councils have been established. So if you see that the peak was in 2019 and 416 water user associations have been established, and out of the currently something like that's 433,000 hectares managed by the water user association. Just on this slide you can see those countries where water user association model was successfully running. It was the Turkey. Fully rolled, locally adapted operational water user system. And this irrigation, this model have been fully, let's say, heavily supported by the government financially also. That was, I think, one of the major issues here. And in Azerbaijan and Tajikistan, now the idea of having the water user association as the main, let's say, organization dealing with the water irrigation and water infrastructure and supplying farmers, but now they are struggling. Why? Because this model is not working properly. There is a plenty, let's say, gray zones where someone should pay, someone should invest. If government is not able or don't want to do this, who should pay? Farmers. And historically, farmers never pay for this because they have replaced state collective farms or state farms, where all the water infrastructure and everything was run and was heavily subsidized by, heavily financed by the collective farm or state. So historically, you know, the water user setup of mine is of the farmers are quite different. And in Turkey, historically, the whole system ran differently. And the farmers are also contributing here, and the government also supporting with the next step. So if the farmers produce some food and they produce by certain order, already end user is defined and price also defined. Where in Azerbaijan and Tajikistan is different story. Farmers producing the food or vegetables, and they should think about the next day, whom I should sell it. That is the key issue of the paying capacity of the farmer for all services. In our case, water is free. Water is state property. But service to deliver the water to the farmer from the from off farm and on farm. In our case, off farm is a state running system in many countries. And on farm is this level is running by the Water User Association. And Water User Association is non-governmental organization unifying the group of the water. And who is paying? Farmer. So irrigation and land reclamation should be fully covered at this stage by the farmers. But the question, is the farmer capable to afford all prices, real cost? That was the main trigger here. And that was the main reason why this idea did not fly. The farmers cannot sell in the most and the more profitable price the final goods, and suddenly there's a vicious circle. Huh? So if farmers cannot pay for the service cannot be provided in full in its very high standard and with the full, let's say, aspects or ingredients. And in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, they already abolished. They already stepped out, and now they're moving to the next, let's say, option. And in Turkmenistan, yeah, they even did not start. They didn't risk to start. They're just doing something similar in one district, just to try in one or two water user associations to see how it will run. And here you can see that countries where water user association, this map, was successful in Turkey. I mean, was fully run or established in Azerbaijan and Tajikistan, but they're not satisfying. Yeah, and also the next is who abolished, and Turkmenistan did not even start to move towards the water user association. And just at the end, I want to just share with you colleagues that if we want to make some changes, we need to also think about the economically viable, I mean, the circumstances. If we, by purpose, want to change something for the farmers, and farmers' well-being should be considered. Now we move, let's say, just start to think from one side that irrigation infrastructure should be, let's say, better managed, better governed. But if you see at the basement, there's a simple farmers, simple water users. Is it profitable for them? Do they, I mean, after all these reforms and changes, are they going to earn more money? How the irrigation infrastructure will manage it afterwards? That was, I think, the main aspects or points that you see the almost 9 million hectares irrigation infrastructure is slightly not operate or governed in that way it should be. Yeah, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Daler. I think he has explicitly explained very an interesting comparison he has given of 7 countries comparison of water governance and its analysis. The context was landscape, approaches, status, challenges, and prospects for irrigation services to facilitate water governance experience. I think the approach we which he has adopted was explore, engage, select, examine, distill, and share. And he has also given a very interesting reform implementation in the 7 countries, whether water user associations versus non-water user associations. I think this is one of the objective of this international workshop, to share the experience and to learn from the member countries, whether it's a CRAZE governance system or it's a water user association based water governance system. So I think this is a very interesting argument articulation has been made by both of the two keynote speakers. Now we will move to the second sessions. Our second session is a panel discussions. Our distinguished panelists are first. I request Mr. Zamir Sobro is with us online. He's from ADPC. Our second panelist is Dr. Mohammad Royaz Sahab, who is Director, Program Monitoring Implementations, Irrigation Department, Government of Pakistan. I request him to please come on the second panelist is Dr. Jahazeb Masood Chima Sahab, who is Deputy Country Rep, International Water Management Institute in Pakistan. Chima Sahab, please. And last, our panelist is Professor Dr. Bakshal Lashari Saab, Professor of Emeritus, Bahrain University of Engineering and Technology. Please, sir. Dr. Zamir Saab, are you with us online or where are you? Zamir Saab, आप अपना speaker on करेंगे mic. So we start with you. Zamir Saab. We will move to the Chima Saab, I think. Chima Saab, one of the issues is this, the knowledge of water governance. And when we talk about the knowledge of the water governance, obviously it has got a very different dynamics and the perspective as well. Whether those aspects are being accounted for in our policy systems or our strategies where the decisions are being made. Now, particularly, it would be much appreciated if you would highlight in context with the OIC countries.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. Basically, first of all, I would like to introduce myself as well because previously I was just like a hardcore scientist working, focusing on all those water issues, doing hydrological modeling, and that was my whole, expertise and interest. But when I joined IME about 2 years back, so then I jumped into, I was looking at various aspects of this water governance and policies and all those things. So it was also one of, I was also very much astonished to see that we have a lot of policies. I mean, if we talk about the Pakistan, I think we can also talk about the 57 countries of OIC as well. Because we have the similar, set of minds and similar political situations and similar, way of doing the things. So in Pakistan, we are having like tens of policies available in which we are, working on and talking about and having some strategies on this water sources management, environmental flows, and all those, major points are being taken care within those policies. I mean, if you talk about water policies, if you talk about climate change policy, if you talk about food policy and forest policy, and all those policies have some points over there. But the thing is that I mean, if we are having all those policies, but there is hardly any sort of implementation on those policies. We are having a lot for last 20 or 30 years we are developing different policies, and even if we talk about this water policy, And I'm talking about Pakistan, but it is also true for all other OIC countries. That the water policy was developed back in 2018 in Pakistan, and then based on that water policy, we actually went through all that developing of the provincial level water act. One has been established in Punjab. Another one is also going to be due in Sindh as well. KP is also taking the lead. Balochistan still we are working on that. So the thing is that whenever we are talking about implementation of those policies, we are lacking in it, right? So there are a couple of reasons. I mean, I will also try to highlight those reasons as well. But the thing is that I mean, if you are going to develop those such type of policies, even on water or climate or whatever you want to do, you have to have a will. That is the first thing. That I mean, political will should be there, or the governance mechanism that has some, areas where they can actually provide support from the political as well as the bureaucratic governance. So if you are having this type of implementation plans with you, then there's a point you can actually implement those water policies and all. And I would like to give the example of this Water Act and policy over here in Punjab. So we actually developed this policy, I think, in 2019, and we are still struggling to implement that policy. So we are still struggling to develop the governance mechanism, governance structure to implement that particular policy. Irrigation department and all other line departments are struggling hard to do that, but there are a lot of political as well as some other points that are hindering this implementation in a true latent state. Irrigation department, other departments are working very hard to implement that framework and that water act. But the thing is that we don't have a particular governance mechanism which is free of those political influences in it. When we will be get free from those political influences, then there will be a chance that we are able to implement those such type of policies, and we can develop some strategies which are long lasting and which actually can give the benefit to the farmers as well. So and also we have seen from our colleague that lot of work was going on governance, particularly in different countries in the Central Asia as well. But again, we have seen that for 20 years, for 30 years, the things were working, but afterwards again they were abolished, they were stopped due to one or other reasons. So we have to also take care of those reasons that why this type of things are being happened. I mean, this is not only in Central Asian countries, but also in all Islamic countries, I would say, we have the similar context. The second thing is that this is resource constraints, sir. I mean, when we are going to implement those policies, we are developing those strategies, you have to have put a lot of resources in it for proper implementation. Because this is not an easy job that you have a policy and then you are going to just implement without any sort of resources, as well as the institutional capacity building. Because in our case, in irrigation department and in me and other, FAO and other organizations, BCRWR, we are working closely together to develop the institutional capacity. So if you have this type of, you want to, really implement the policies, your institutions should be ready to adopt those policies so that you can actually, implement them on ground. So this is also one of the constraint I think that is hindering our strategies of doing these policies and actionable policy. And the third thing, which I think is important as well, that whenever you are going to implement any sort of policy, you should have a proper database with you, right? So we are talking couple of times in each and every conference, you will be listening about this data gaps, data requirement, data sharing issues. And this is not only in Pakistan. I mean, if you talk about Uzbekistan and then Afghanistan and then Kyrgyzstan, they have those shared basins as well. But again, the data sharing is again an issue. So if you are working on at a basin scale level, transboundary level, if you are working within a country, you do have, like in Pakistan, we are having different provinces. Even there is not proper trust among the provinces that the data is being shared is right or not right. So I mean, this type of constraint is also hindrance to properly implement and strategize our policies as well. And well, of course, at the end, I would also say that the technology. So we are actually, making our policies up to that particular mark that basically all those high-end technologies will be used and will be implemented for that. But are we ready for, using those technologies, and do we have such resources to implement those technologies? Because when we are making those policies, that are basically based on the policies which were done by the Europe or the, developed countries. So we are trying to copy those policies with us, but at the same time, we should have similar resources that we can actually implement those. So I think this is the key.
Thank you. Dr. Yasab, Dr. Chima highlighted about the policy implementation deficit. And I think another aspect he has reflected about the evidence-based policies on the basis of reliable, authentic, and comparable data. What do you think? What is the core issues with respect to the policy implementation? Is it a issue of like institutional capacity, or ineffective coordination, or maybe 18th Amendment? So what do you think where the the issue rests? Although we do have, I think Chima Sahib has highlighted we do have a number of policy instruments. I think Secretariat corridors or secretariats is a graveyard of the various policies, but are not being implemented. So, and the Pakistan is one of the country which is a very over legislative country. But at the implementation level, we don't find the tangible results.
Thank you, Dr. Fatima has very rightly elaborated a lot of things, but I will discuss about the Punjab, what we are doing in Punjab in order to make the show the water governance. So the first thing is very rightly that Shima said that a strong database and robust database is very important for the implementation of any type of policy. So in this regard, Punjab has already established a very robust database irrigation management information system that we are collecting data from the head and tail of channels of more than 3,000 channels on the daily basis from 6,000 locations head and tail. So similarly, we have also established the raw water management information system from where we are getting the data twice in a year, 5 months and 4 months. And we have developed with the coordination with the Indian, we have developed the raw water management system also. So with this strong database, we are able to monitoring the canal operation. So in order to monitoring the equitable distribution of canal water among the distributors, among the farmers, we have established a monitoring unit that is independent of the field of. So that is directly reported to the administrative department. Through this monitoring unit, we are collecting data in the isolation other than the field stop, because we are collecting data on random basis, not for the whole channel. Because our whole channel irrigation reporting the database data. So we have developed the Android application for collecting of data. We are giving Android application for dedicated monitoring staff that is going to the field, taking the pictorial evidence and getting the data and getting the database without any human intervention. As soon as the data is received at the database, there are certain commands that will directly report the dry tail and short tail of the channel to the field formation, so that they can make the corrective measures for the next day canal regulations. So this is the one of the key for the good water governance. Secondly, we have also installed on pilot basis the sensor technology. Real-time flow monitoring sensor, we have established on 136 canals out of 3,000 canals on pilot basis. So because our monitoring unit is collecting data on daytime, but with this technology, we can be able to collect the data from more than 136 channels on day and night basis, 24/7. So this will also enhance the strength of the database. Similarly, we have also established the SCADA system on the Punjab garages, where we are making regulation based on the SCADA remotely from head office. Even if there is a malfunctioning at the field stop, so we can check and control these regulations at that point. Similarly, if we see at the federal level, because we are, inside the federal authority from where we are getting annually 48 million acre feet of water for Punjab, the channels of more than 22 million acres command area. So it means as soon as we receive the water, we are distributing among the distributors of various canal systems, that is about 24 canal systems, starting from the Soda zone to the Bahawalpur zone, South Punjab. So in this way, we are taking the control of water governance through sensor technology, through automation also. It is also making telemetry system across Pakistan, where we have selected 27 points across Pakistan, where all provinces are covered. So 16 out of 27 points, 16 are in Punjab. So it means federal body is also controlling and managing the regulation on the main canal system, while the Punjab irrigation is managing this distributed system. So I think this is a very good model as far as the Punjab is concerned, from where we are regulating and to the sensor technology. Similarly, as Dr. Chima said, that we have also frame out the policy, water, Punjab water policy is concerned in line with the national water policy. So similarly, we have also made the Water Act. But how it is, there are some challenges in implementation of that policy. So I think that is very great challenge. So we, with the coordination of any as a partner, considering the partner, we are focusing the water policy in two of the Punjab district. One is the Water district and other is the Rahim Jharkhand district. Where with the coordinate, we are making water counting, we are making allocation of all these stakeholders, water allocation for all stakeholders, so that we can at least make the pilot testing of this water implementation policy, Water Act in two districts, so that we can learn the experience and similarly these experience will be later on implemented to the other provinces of the Punjab. So with the parallel, we are also working on the 5W resource model. That's very applicable model where once we are getting the water flow from the barrages, we are distributing among the canals through this model. This will also ensure the good governance in respect of controlling water by sitting in the airport and which zone is getting accurate water, which zone is getting extra water. So I think this type of model must be presented in this OIC workshop so that we can share the experience with the other OIC countries and show their, and similarly, we are getting like two-day workshop regarding the water user association. Because in Punjab, we have also in past, we have tested this experience, but that is badly failed. But today I listening that some of the countries that are like Turkey and other countries are very good examples of water user association. So these experiences must be shared, and the forum, this concept has arranged a very good forum for sharing these knowledge and experience. So this.
Thank you, Dr. Riaz, by highlighting the various initiatives that have been taken by the government of Punjab. Professor Lashari Saab, I think, Dr. Lashari, obviously, in addition to your other strength, one of your strength is that you had a vast experience working with the communities. And when we talk about a effective governance system, it means less government, more governance. And which means for whatever the initiatives or the policies are being developed. So the most important thing, for whom we are developing these policies for the implementations. So what do you think, how the whether it's civil societies, local communities can be involved our water governance system effectively?
Thank you, Dr. Saab. I think Saab and Dr. Riaz Saab, they have already elaborated several things. When we have been listening in the morning from the keynote speakers, several models have been implemented or applied in different countries. When we are talking about the water governance, and then suddenly we focus on the irrigation. Because irrigation is the, agriculture is the major user of this water. But of course, when we are talking about the water policy, it is more also important for the drinking water, environment, and the other uses. So it is a complex the phenomena, and it cannot be easily addressed in one the sectors or in one department. So first thing is the integration. I think it's very important that how we are implementing or developing these policies and the governance. I was working in the Islamic Development Bank water policies, and where the around 50 countries who were the part of the partner of this Islamic Bank. When we were looking at the issues or the challenges, and we listen the issues and the challenges our two colleagues they highlighted today. Issues or the challenges are more or less the common. Number one is the population growth. Because our resources are limited, especially water resources are limited. And always we are talking about that our water per capita is gradually declining because of this population growth. The second important issue that we are facing from time to time, and it's also increasing, the climate change. Now, these two major issues are always asking us that you have to revise your policy, visit your policy from time to time. Look into the national water policy and then provincial water policies. Again, we have the climate change policies for the provinces, for the nationals. I think we are somehow implementing the policies. We are dealing with the governance. No doubt these issues are increasing, and these issues which are increasing gradually, like climate change and population, it puts a pressure, a lot of pressure on the resources, and ultimately it goes to the governance, the people, the government, the community. Now looking to this, the Water Users Association model. In Pakistan also, it was started in early 90s in Pakistan, and we established the frontal irrigation and drainage authorities in all the provinces. In 3 provinces, Balochistan, they probably refused in the beginning, and 3 provinces they agreed, and gradually the Punjab and KPK they refused to implement these policies, the water users associations. But in Sindh, still water users associations are working in 3 main canals, another 4 canals, and we have the area water boards and the Sindh Irrigation and Drainage Authority. But when we are involving the community, it's not an easy task. Social aspects are very, very crucial. Changing the mind of the people is not easy. And always the complaint comes from the government or the departments like irrigation department that water users associations are not the fully working or functioning. And the purpose of the water users association formation was equal distribution of water and financial sustainability, but still these are lacking. So the involvement of the community, I think, is very important. Whenever you are making the policy, because your question relates to the community and the civil society and these people. Ultimately, the beneficiaries are the community end users. So I think involving the community is more important. Yes, we can see the models like Turkey has the model from last probably 30 years or 25 years, and still it is working. So engaging the community, I think is more important that will help us to resolve these the water challenges issues and also integrating all these institutions together. And the last thing I will emphasize that the capacity of the institutions, either we are talking about the water users associations, we are talking about the other institutions, we have the federal institutions, we have the provincial level, the management of these water resources. So I think the capacity and the financial resources for all these the institutions are very important. I start here.
Thank you, Lashari Saab. Zamir Sobra Saab, are you with us?
Yeah, Dr. Saab, thank you.
Acha,
Can you hear me?
Thank you for joining, Zamir Sobra Saab. Zamir Sobra Saab, just Professor Lashari has highlighted one, the factor of the climate change in water governance. I think the already very complex water governance system is facing a serious challenges when this climate factor has added, and particularly with in context with the Pakistan, since Pakistan falls in the first 10 countries in context with the climate risk index. So what do you think? What is the rational approach in pursuing a sustainable water resources systems, considering the climate factor in our water governance system?
Thank you, Dr. Rashid. Actually, in your initial talk, you summarize very well, giving the definition or formula that what is the water governance and what are the components, means the leadership, institutions, and policy, and what I said, the stakeholders. So, for all these components, ownership is more important. That you are taking the ownership of lead. You are so for the governance. If we will consider from home to town to country, definitely the challenges will be more and more when you are talking about the broader. So if so this is the important. So you talked about the climate change, that how we are supposed to get the challenges of climate change. So we have to integrate the water management into national development, and we have strengthened our multi-level governance to enhance the coordination between the local and regional stakeholders, and we have to develop the legislation enhancing institutional capacities. Now, as the Pakistan is most vulnerable to the climate, that's why we are experiencing the lot of events of floods and droughts. So as such, we have to, as Dr. Lashari mentioned, that we have to engage our communities for the discussions, and definitely we need the mobilization of finance. One of the experience I would like to share, Dr. Ashraf and myself were in Balochistan 3-4 months ago. So the people of the farmers of Balochistan, they gave a very good experiences as compared to the scientists. So we have to listen those persons for our policies and these things.
Thank you, Zamir Somro Saab, for adding value to our discussion. I wish to carry out discussion further because this is a very important area, and we need a lot of deliberations to further to funnel our discussions further. I think Fareed Alam Saab would like to add something. Fareed Alam Saab.
Thank you very much, sir. My comment or question to all the candidates. If you look into governance is basically about process and system. So, like, I'm just taking the case of Pakistan. In Pakistan, we sometimes mistakenly counting the structure only the system, only we are limiting to the government system, like to the institution. But I think in the governance, it starts from the house, then from the to the community, and then further to the government system at the top level. So I think we are not engaging the community. That's the basic problem with our implementation, because if you look into all our policies and strategies, that's the key question we need to ask from ourselves. For who we are making this policy? We are making policies in Islamabad for people living in safe in the rural areas, or in the rural areas in Punjab or in Kenya or in Balochistan, and that doesn't at all. Because if you are not engaging, so then it will be only an island of exit. And another key point which I would like to know or panelists to touch on is the accountability mechanism. Because in the governance, you should have the vertical and the horizontal accountability mechanism. And if you don't ensure, so then there will be nothing in it.
Thank you. I think I totally endorse his comments. This responsibility associated with accountability, and the new public management is all about the relevant stakeholders has to be taken on board instead of only predominantly public sector governed system. That's why one of the issues is that we feel a serious deterioration in our policy and the governance system. And this shows the various indexes on the governance where we stands. Thank you very much. Please, Dr. Riaz.
Department, we have established a complaint management system where the toll-free number is there. So, for letting your independently monitoring the canal regulation. If there is any shortage of tail of any channel, so our dedicated team independently go to the, without involving the field formation, go to the canal, checking the outlet from head to tail, and making the report and reporting to the administrative secretary, and they are taking action against that. Similarly, we have also made some evaluation criteria of all the region of 54 divisions in our region based on the canal pressure, which includes getting water, authorized water from tail ahead and providing to the tail. Similarly, less water cut cases. So based on this 18, 19 key indicators, we are making the evaluation of all the divisions based on collaboration. So based on these evaluations, these people's action as you are promoted and giving the appreciation letter from the director and the last which who are unable to meet these criteria, so they are making accounting for. Similarly, complaint management system is there, farmer are asking their complaint to the toll free number, we are making the, they are just telling the truck number or the outlet number. Our system automatically determines the channel name, command area and all these information. And these are forwarded to the concerned division and they are making. Similarly, if there's a farmer problem is resolved, we are getting the feedback from the farmer so that they are satisfied with this issue or the resolution of this issue or not. So this is the mechanism we are adopting.
Thank you, Dr. Riaz. I need to discuss one more aspect of very important aspect of the governance, which is associated with the trust. There is a huge trust deficit. When there is a trust deficit, whether it's a interprovincial trust deficit in it, despite of the fact water accord is there or across the border trust deficit in treaty is there, but it is not being implemented. So the one critical aspect is the trust between the stakeholders. Can we take 1-2 questions? Dr. Majid, first you, a very short and crispy question.
Yeah, just comment.
And ask the panelists, not me.
Yes, actually, it's a very good comment. And your mechanism is very interesting, how to keep in touch with farmers, because there are, grassroots levels or actually there are water users. And so you should keep closely harmony with them. And so it's sort of bottom of water governance. But in reality, what is taking place in some OIC countries? In reality, now in terms of climate change, now we are walking on a very dangerous edge, very dangerous. And in some of these countries, according to, as far as I know, and because now I'm working on a project about climate populism or water populism. And what is that? Now they are using climate change as a scapegoat in the water problem. And for example, if they put the blame on climate change, for example, when they face drought or flood, and so they say, okay, this is climate change, excuse me, please accept my apology. I have no role in it. But actually, so this climate change, so this is another danger. So because now climate change is a big concern for us. Now we are working on this to find a solution to this or mitigate the impact of climate change in our society. But in some countries, the governments are using climate change as a scapegoat. And so, 8 weeks ago, the American scholar has done a lot of research and good studies on climate population. So we should be aware of it. This is another danger.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are your comments.
I think so.
You would like to add anything?
You can correct me if I'm mistaken.
I hope comments. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we are taking care of that. I mean, this rightly pointing out the things. So I mean, we are totally agree.
So thank you. आप बहुत देर से हाथ खड़ा कर रहे थे। बोले कि छोटा सा सवाल कीजिए।
I have thought question from Dr. Riyad that you are doing a very wonderful job for data collection. I just want to know the policy of your data sharing with the research community and academia, specifically for students, and your data sharing with other irrigation departments from other provinces, specifically during the disaster time like flooding. Yes, Punjab has the ability to give the student parcel free of cost. So in that, we are already coordinating with various universities in provision of data. But we need the request from your end to the secretary that we need this type of data for this purpose. So this is only to specify data is free for us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but also some, I mean, it's also available freely on the website.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I thank you.
What is the connection of with other provinces?
Website are available.
It's giving up.
Global. Acha, I'm thankful to my panelists, Zamir Sobro Saab, Dr. Cheema Saab, Dr. Riaz Saab, Dr. Lashari Saab. I am really honored to have our keynote speakers, Dr. Dilesh Saab, Dr. Majid Saab, to give us a comprehensive overview on the water governance systems. Last but not least, I request Dr. Kamran Ansari Saab, who is Director, US Park US Center on Water Resources at Mehran University of Engineering Technology, for his closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rashid sir. I mean, I know it's getting late. Everybody is waiting for the tea. So I'll rather, I mean, our keynote speakers, respectable keynote speakers. And we saw that, I mean, these similar things may be working in some areas, the governance. For example, our respectable keynote speaker pointed out to us that the carriage system has been functioning since centuries or thousands of years in many parts of the world, and it is being governed by the local communities in a very, very good way. But then our another keynote speaker, I mean, is irrigation systems, which, under the what we or pressure of the donor agencies, I mean, we wanted to shift it to the Water User Association involving all these stakeholders, but that seems not to be working in most of the countries. There can be exceptions and so on. And our keynote speakers, I mean, very rightly pointed out, I mean, as the saying, I have this saying by Peter Drucker that you can't manage what you can't measure. So the measurement or the data availability is very important when you want to manage something that includes water as well. So as we are concluding this session on the role of better governance and water resources management, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to each and every one of you for your provoking contributions, engaging discussions, and commitment to improving the governance of our precious water resources. We have delved into the complexities of the water governance, exploring the intricate relationship between institutions, policies, and the stakeholders. We have acknowledged the critical role of the effective governance in ensuring the sustainable, equitable, and efficient management of water resources. Through our discussions, I mean, I have summarized into few points. Number one, strengthening institutional framework and coordination mechanisms to enhance policy coherence and implementation. I mean, this is what we have been lacking in our country or in many parts of the world. Promoting transparency, accountability, and participation in water decision-making processes. This is what our IWRM says. Then encouraging integrated water resources management approaches that balance the social, economic, and environmental consideration. This is what we have been talking about. And then building capacity and enhancing knowledge sharing among water professionals. As we just heard that, I mean, some of the departments are, collecting the data, but is that data being shared with the real stakeholders? I mean, the stakeholders may be the academia, to which I too belong, because whenever we want to do some research, I mean, it is the proper data that we always struggle to find, in anywhere that we want to. So enhancing knowledge sharing among water professionals, stakeholders, and communities is very important. As we move forward, let us recognize that what better governance is not a destination, but a continuous process of improvement. Let us commit to work together to address the governance gaps and challenges that hinder effective water resources management. So in the end, I would like to thank the speakers, the panelists, the moderators, the reporters of this session. I also extend my gratitude to the organizers, the comstech, the EMI, the partners, the EMI and the PCRWR. And as we close the session, let us carry with us a renewed sense of purpose and collaboration. Together, we can foster better governance, improve water improve water resource management, and contribute to a more sustainable, equitable, and water secure future for us. Thank you very much.
Dwellis, a cup of coffee.
जो बाहर लोग खड़े हैं उनको भी बुला लीजिए। Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome in the third session of the International Workshop on Climate Change and Sustainable Water Resources Management. The topic of the third session is sustainable use of the non-conventional water sources. So I introduce myself. I'm a moderator for this session. My name is Dr. Hifza Rashid, and I'm working in Pakistan Council of Research in Water Resources as Director General. The session will consist of the keynote speeches. There will be two keynote speakers. We are having from National University of Engineering, Science and Technology, NUST, and NED Karachi. And this will be followed by a panel discussion and question answer session. Before we proceed towards all these three different components of this session, I will start with my own presentation regarding giving a rationale of sustainable use of the non-conventional water sources. Water sources and why is it required to utilize and explore such sources. One of the reasons is that OIC countries, including Pakistan and many countries, they are proceeding with the situation of the water scarcity, which is caused by some water shortages, ineffective water management, population growth, climate change, and there are several reasons which are causing inadequacy of the freshwater bodies and the freshwater sources in these countries. So, in addition to judiciously managing the water sources and adopting the water conservation measures, one of the way is to explore the alternate water sources. So this is a picture of the alternate water sources. What can be those sources? Atmospheric moisture, like fog and different types of the precipitations can be harvested. Cloud seeding is one of the methods which is getting popular nowadays. Then microscale capture of the rainwater where it would otherwise evaporate. This can also be a part of the rainwater harvesting system. Then treatment of the agricultural drainage or using these drainage for some animal farming or alternative ways of using such drainage water. Icebergs collected from the Arctic regions and transported to the water scarce areas. Groundwater confined in onshore deep geological formations or in offshore aquifers. Similarly, ballast water held in tanks and cargo holds of ships to increase stability during transit. But all of these ways are quite complicated. It is not easier for us, specifically as a developing country, to harness all of these potential. So we will focus mainly on two major non-conventional water sources. One is the wastewater treatment, specifically coming from the municipal, industrial, and similarly commercial settings for the treatment purpose. And the other one, which has a big potential, but unfortunately, we could not utilize the potential of the desalination of the seawater, though we are blessed with plenty of ocean and the seawater. So these two are our main agenda for today's discussions. There can be several multiple uses we can use as an alternate to the fresh water for our drinking water, irrigation, and industrial consumption, and all types of the consumptions where we are lacking or where we have the water scarcity. So coming to the wastewater. Wastewater is basically has not been given the status of a resource so far in the developing countries. But in the developed world, like Israel, that is treating 90% of its wastewater, and the country has recognized wastewater as a resource, and they are using that treated wastewater for the agricultural irrigation. Likewise, US and several developed countries have set the different types of the models to recognize wastewater as a resource and treating it and using it for the non-potable purposes. In Pakistan, which is also a very important OIC member country, it's using only 1% of the municipal treatment and even less than that for the industrial treatment. And altogether, in the OIC countries, only 11% of the wastewater is treated. But the production-wise, I think we are on a very bigger scale because of our population. If you compare the different continents, we can see that the Asia is having the highest wastewater production, and it is very obvious due to our population and due to our non-utilization of the wastewater. Desalination, it's a very, I will not go into the definition, but it is just the removal of the salts from the seawater and using the same type of the water, saline groundwater, and using this treated water as a compensation to the fresh water. Now we see what OIC has achieved in terms of the desalination. Desalination leaders are fortunately from the OIC countries like Saudi Arabia and Middle East. Israel is also a world leader, but that is out of OIC. Similarly, some countries from the South American region like Mexico and Brazil, they have also set very good models for the desalination. Saudi Arabia is the world leader in the desalination, and I think we are blessed to have this country on the OIC panel, and we should make some good regional collaboration to establish the similar kind of the models in the other countries which are not using this technology, like Pakistan. Pakistan has a great potential. We have Arabian Sea, but we have challenges. And similarly, UAE is also one of the big leaders in the in the desalination, and both of the countries have utilized this technology and established the good models, and they have overcome their water scarcity due to the desalination. These are the different examples from the different cities which they are producing as a result of the desalination treatment. Why desalination models are less successful in the OIC countries? High capital and operating cost, and one of the high cost is its energy requirement. And though the capital investment is can be a one-time cost, but the energy is a continuous cost. And both Saudi Arabia and UAE, Kuwait, and some other countries like Oman, they are blessed with a plenty of energy resources in the form of oil and petrol, and they are meeting this energy requirement for the desalination from this resource. But we are also good. We can also establish the good models utilizing the solar energy, which we still could not utilize for desalination. We are using for tube well irrigation and several other purposes, but not for the desalination. And then limited technical expertise. This is one of the big challenge because our people, they need to learn about the desalination, practical desalination, and specifically after setting up the facility, the operation and the maintenance and the technical complexities need to be well understood and well learned. And policy framework, all of our policies, like if I talk about Pakistan, the national water policy, national climate change policy, and several policies talk about that desalination. They have a separate section on the desalination, but unfortunately, we are still not implementing. Environmental concerns are big because it produces brine and disposal of the brine, and using the brine for some effect productive way is also a challenge. Then focus on conventional water resources is less. So far, we are more focused on the fresh water, and we think that it's a free entity and God gifted, and we should utilize the fresh water up to the level we can. And then public-private partnership is not there because such kind of the systems effectively require the public-private partnership, and the service delivery can be best operated by the public-private partners. And we are also have a big challenge at the platform of the OIC. We are not making enough collaborations and sharing of our experiences and the technical skills for these non-conventional water sources. And then obviously public awareness and acceptance issues are there, but these are minor issues when we compare to the top issues, which are first three issues. Wastewater. Wastewater is a very important component of the circular economy, and we all are aware what is wastewater, what is required for the treatment, how it can be used, and what are the ways to use the treated wastewater for the industrial and the non-potable water consumption. But this circular economy is a very important chapter, and I think when we talk about the wastewater, it should be given a due emphasis for the circular economy. These are just a glimpse of some of the treatment methodologies, which includes the primary treatment for the wastewater, secondary treatment, tertiary treatment, and unfortunately, if I talk about Pakistan, we are initially were very much focused on the centralized treatments. Karachi, Faisalabad, Lahore, Islamabad, the big metropolitan cities, they all have the huge wastewater treatment systems, but unfortunately, those systems are not working properly. Like I know in Karachi, only 70 million gallons per day of the wastewater is being treated, and rest of more than 500 million gallons per day is being dumped into the Arabian Sea without any treatment, which is not only a public health risk, but also a risk for the global biodiversity, aquatic biodiversity. This treatment is very important, tertiary treatment. I will give here an example of the Singapore, which has converted its wastewater into the drinkable water. And they are addressing their deficiency of the drinking water by treating the wastewater of the daily production. So this is due to the tertiary treatment, which includes the membrane, which utilizes the membrane. Both the desalination and the wastewater treatment requires the other than all those components which I have discussed previously, one of a very important material, and that is membrane. Unfortunately, we are importing all of our membrane products from the other developed world like US, China, Netherlands, Germany, and other like Taiwan. No OIC country has established its membrane manufacturing facility. So we are dependent on the developed countries, and they are now market leaders. There are several types of the brands which are there, and there are substandard brands as well, which we are using on the daily basis for our water treatment purposes, either that is drinking water, industrial treatment, or any type of the treatment. So while these membrane facilities or the manufacturing facilities could not be established, our keynote speaker, one of the keynote speakers from the NUST will deliberate on that. These three countries, I have just given examples of these three countries. They have established very good models for the wastewater treatment. And Turkey is very good in that, we know that. And then similarly, UAE and the Egypt, and they have developed the different types of the centralized and the decentralized system. Decentralized systems are nowadays given more significance due to research outcomes, which has proved that the decentralized systems are more effective and more productive. I will give you an example of my own organization, Pakistan Council of Research in Water Resources, which has converted its premises, all the three buildings, into a water smart buildings, try to demonstrate a model that how the buildings can manage its own water. We are having the rooftop rainwater harvesting system, which we are using for the groundwater. And we do not want to waste our rainwater, which our three buildings capture, and we use that water for recharging our own boring water as well as the groundwater table. And then whatever the water the whole building produces, which is on average is 5,000 liters per day, we have developed a nature-based wastewater treatment system, which is a constructed hybrid wetland. And our laboratory, our testing labs waste is also going into this system, and this system is treating the water, and we are using this water for all of our irrigation, non-irrigation, vegetables, and we have a nursery, and if we have to dispose of out of the building, our treated water is going off. And our lab is also testing the pre and post results of the efficiency of this system, and the results are very effective and encouraging. One of the big issues that why we are making this desalination and the reverse osmosis membrane manufacturing systems, and why our community level filtration plants are generally becoming the factory of bacteria after the 6 months of their installation. It is because there is lack of replacement of the membrane cartridges, and why we are not replacing because we do not have funds. And why we do not have funds, or why we cannot afford these things, it is because the membrane we are importing from across the borders are quite expensive. We do not have manufacturing facilities. So what are the reasons? The reasons are that high capital investment, technological complexity can be fulfilled, but as we are not focused on this, that's why we face this issue. Absence of industrial policy support, the government policies in our countries, they are not much flexible. And I think there should be more linkages between the academia and the industry should be given some capacity building boost with the policies of the government to set up such facilities for the indigenous production of the membranes. So these are all of the components which have actually the gaps in our countries. Dr. Nasir will further explain what are issues with our membrane development, and these systems are energy efficient, and what are the issues with the commercialization of the technologies. So this was just an overview so that we can understand what are the non-conventional water sources and what are our requirements and what are our gaps. Thank you. Now we start with the keynote speeches. I will invite Dr. Syed Imran Ahmed, Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, NED University of Engineering and Technology, Karachi. We are very honored to have such a learned keynote speaker with us, and he has a PhD in the Biosystems Engineering, Drainage and Water Quality, Iowa State University, USA, and he is also holding 2 masters, one from the Iowa State University and the other one from the Oregon State University. And currently he is the director and professor of the Panjwani Hisar Water Institute, NED University, Karachi. And he has on his credit that he has established the first water modeling center at the NED University in 2013. And so far, he has a great contribution in the water resource management projects. Please, sir. I think if you think you cannot speak loud.
Thank you, Dr. Ifsar, for this introduction, and Assalamu alaikum. And again, thanks to the whole crowd here who has given me this opportunity to talk about something related to water. And water has been my bread and butter for years, like most of the people sitting here as an expert. There are a few things which I want to mention specifically related to Pakistan. And I have tried to put together pieces of information for this very special time of, I would say, related to water issues in Pakistan. So let's start with most of the wars what we have studied has been either directly or indirectly because of the water availability in the history, right? Did we learn any lesson from it? That's what we need to understand. And if a country has a situation, what that country has done to avoid a situation like what history has taught us. This is the code what I put in my slides, because this is what happening, what I have seen in my lifetime, and what I am thinking that it is not going to be resolved as simple as we think. And overall, first thing what I thought that I should talk about it, it may or may not be related to this exact session, but water security probably is the first thing what we need to understand. And why we need it, I have put very simple definition. Most of you already understand this, that we start with definitely with the domestic and all the way go to check the environmental flow for our rivers. So we start from home and go all the way on a mega scale. What problems we have? Very normal, since it's a very water-related crowd. So all of you understand it. But the why I put it here, that are we working on it? As an institute, like I am definitely director of a water institute. Am I working on it? Some other? Yes, I see that there is some work going on. But how good and how effective it is going to be in future, that's what we need to understand. There are few issues, and it is also transboundary and interprovincial, that Pakistan is facing for quite a bit. And that's what would be some points which I would like to share with you, and definitely in question and answer session, we can elaborate it a bit more. In this slide, the most important thing, what I see is unclear application of national water policy, which other speakers, mashallah, also talked about it. And since 2018, this policy has been implemented accordingly. All of us a bit of, a bit of understanding of it, but application is not there somehow. Most of the time, when we have a conflict in water, we go for discussion, accords. There are 260 basins. Only 100 of them have some sort of agreement to avoid any conflict. We are one of them as well. And it is not a new thing. It has, water has a history. And this history in this slide is quite visible that, of course, agreement work accordingly. We have done IWT. This is another glimpse of where people avoided war by having some agreement among the countries, transboundary, interprovincial. And these are the successful examples, what I'm just trying to show you. Yes, we have conflict. It doesn't matter if it's developed country or underdeveloped countries. We have water crisis between Arizona and Colorado. And I did not put all of them, but I'm just trying to say it is not a local issue. It is a global issue everywhere. Some of the conflict and then dissolved, as you can see here. Definitely, our Indus Water Treaty so far is intact. But yesterday, I still had a question when I was sitting in the audience, that question I would ask today, talking here, that should we revise IWT? That's a question for all of you. Should we or should we not? Why? Because somehow we are getting water scarce according to this definition. So definitely we had treaty, so far intact. So that's one source of water. The other is Upper Indus Basin. When Bhasha Dam started and I became part of the hydropower committee of the dam, so the first thing what I did in 2020, I did the 14,000 square kilometer watershed analysis, that how this basin would nurture Bhasha Dam. And we did some analysis. And according to my analysis, it may be wrong, it may be different from what you people have done, that in future we will have enough water for Bhasha Dam. And the reason is right here, because the temperature is going to go up accordingly. Either you are going with 4.5 or 8.5, doesn't matter. But you will have enough water. And here is another question, what I leave for you. How would we cater that water? Definitely temperature went up. I'm skipping this slide, and it went 4 degrees centigrade for 8.5, which is a bit high. Under IWT, India has done one violation, some of you probably know, and some of you don't. So the second point, what I have mentioned, Shahpur Kandi Barrage, this 1150 cubic water Pakistan is not getting. It is according to Indian research, what I have pointing out right now. We are going to be deprived from this water, and some more coming up as well. This is the history what I downloaded from Pakistan Ministry of Water Resources for 2019. We had 149 MA of waters. From 91 to 2018, we got up 141. So we have lost 7 million acre feet of water. For western rivers, this loss is not as much as it is 3.76, but for eastern river, it is 4 point something, which is a bit higher side. Now, the question is, how, if 7 million acre feet of water is not there, did it hit us economically, socially, somehow? This is what I couldn't find yet. This is again the same slide which is talking about, and most of the time, again, my learned speakers before me, most of the things what when we don't know anything, we say, "Ya Allah ki marzi hai, ya climate change." This is what we say, right? To avoid, to put my head into sand. Most of us now take this thing. Okay, if it is climate change, I have quite a bit of years working on it across US, Canada, and here, that yes, there is a climate change, and probably this is what we realize now, but it doesn't mean that we don't have a solution. Even we have a very bold numbers, but from our own data set, I haven't seen any paper, any alarm, any on it that, okay, what we need to do, no flag. Now, all this what I have mentioned, how it should be resolved. Again, we need some data and some cooperation, transboundary cooperation, which is needed. So all this what happened, was it naturally done or what is artificial? It was done artificially, because that is our lifeline. Another study by Indian International Foundation, they found that Pakistan is getting 2 million acre feet of water extra. In fact, it is more than that. It is nearly 3.4% of the water what Pakistan is getting. When they realized this, at the same time, Pulwama happened. And they bragged by then that we're going to stop all the water. It is on record, which is going through eastern rivers. That is an extra money for us from eastern rivers, which may be stopped at any time, because this is how the accord says. They throw that water when they cannot handle it. So these figures, what Pakistan says, that it is not 2 MF, it is more than that, and that is what you throw to us. And what if they stop this water? It is 4.9 million acre feet altogether. It is their study, not mine. Okay, the decline in flow and some other issues. That's why I asked that should we go for it or not? It is. I do understand it. I'm not a political person. I'm a technical person. What I see the numbers, I would be worried that what happens tomorrow, again, the population going up, we need more water, no matter what. And if we talk about all the way from upper riparian to lower riparian, most of the time lower riparian hurt more, right? So this is my dream, but it may or may not be true that both countries should be talking about it and do something to avoid any other war on water, first thing. Plus the population, which is definitely increasing in Pakistan drastically, where we would end up with. I'm not talking about, in our lifetime, probably we are fine. But for a couple of next generations, I don't know what is going to happen. This is the same study what I did for Bhasha Dam, that what is the future of it. So definitely it looks very humble and fine that because of this climate change, which is actually temperature going up, we will have more glacier melt. The point is either we will end up flood all the time or we will be able to cater it. Bhasha Dam is not in operation phase anymore. So where we are heading to for that water, which is going to be melt, we cannot stop it. Another beauty from the website from India. You see all this, you might have seen it, some of you, but since it's a mixed crowd, these are the wells, 1,154 wells right across the border of Lahore and Pakistan. These are what they call observation wells. It's written. Do you think they need to observe so much groundwater in a very narrow area? What is this exactly? They are drawing water out of it. Right now, groundwater flows from India to Pakistan. If water table goes down across the border, where would water go? This is my assumption. And it's going to be true if they keep doing it. This is a free water. In IWT, there is no groundwater clause in it. There is no water quality clause in it. If there is something wrong in that water and comes to Pakistan and people use it or do anything with it, you cannot go to the court. We have arbitration court for IWT, but you cannot go there on this because it is not, there's not a single clause on it. Another issue, Afghanistan. Some say 21, some say 26, but we get some amount of water from Afghanistan without any treaty, right? Government of Pakistan, I have checked, Government of Pakistan tried previously to have a treaty, but treaty didn't happen till date. Instead, what is happening in Afghanistan? On the rivers, what is the plan? They are planning for 7 dams, right? Some of you already know. One dam is called Dosti Dam, which is I have written in the second last point. It is with the help of India, and Modi came and inaugurated it a few years back, probably. So they are going for dam, and this is their right. I mean, I'm not saying they should not do it. So their country, whatever they want to do, they should do it. But since the water is transboundary thing, we need to talk to Afghanistan on urgent basis. If they put 7 dams, definitely the next one is on Kabul. This water would not be there. Not the whole, but definitely some part would not be there. So if you add all these numbers, what I'm giving you, we are going to be short of water at some point of time. I cannot exactly tell depending on the population and what you do, but we are going to be in trouble in future. We had the Pashman regard intact, so far so good. And I'm very happy that it is intact. We have losses, all of you understand that we have lots of losses. Our irrigation system is not, definitely less than 50% efficiency and all that. And we have sediment issue, but I really don't want to talk about sediment issue right now because the lack of time and everything. But these are the numbers which are actually filling up our already, and this is not a new number, definitely this is going to be higher than this. But the whole point is our lifeline right now and the hope for future is only and only Bhasha Dam. which would stop the sediment and the rate of turbella filling and further would be minimized accordingly. It's not rocket science, but this is what was supposed to be done, and definitely we will have enough water for that melt, but we are blaming due to climate change. Calabar Dam definitely eliminated and not there anymore for whatever reason. I don't want to talk about it. But definitely I was in favor of it for sure. Basha Dam, we are in process of it, but I don't know how long it takes. These are the attributes of it. Okay, I'm almost done. It's probably the last or second last slide that all we need are robust data and a robust analysis. We have bits and pieces of information and we can plan accordingly depending. I'm in Islamabad. This is the power hub. Few people or whoever, can we construct something out of this session, this conference, this workshop that, okay, we collect the data and we plan something, we form a committee. These issues are here as a real fact, and it would keep us haunting in future. Who is going to work on it? A lot of water experts are sitting in this room right now. Who will work on it? We are supposed to work on it. Definitely some of you would be working, which I don't know. We can share that information. I'm doing something too. I did for Basha Dam because of being part of it, fine. But you didn't know, right? So the way forward, which is very easy to say, do this, do this, do this, do this, fine. But are we doing it? Are we planning even? No. It's a good seminar in terms of it, and I think I'm all done. Not sure I have passed the time, so I just go back. Otherwise, if any quick question, anyone has. Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Imran, for highlighting the reasons due to which we also need to focus on the use of the non-conventional water sources. Our next speaker is Professor Dr. Nasir Ahmed, and he is professor and in charge Polymer Research Lab, School of Chemical and Material Engineering, National University of Science and Technology. And he's holding 30 years experience in the applied research and development of polymers material with focus on sustainability in core area like climate, energy, water, and health. And he's an extensive consultancy, academic, and industrial experiences to solve real life problems to generate impact on the societal mega challenges. And his topic of talk is sustainable functional membranes for industrial water treatment process.
Thank you very much for the introduction. It was an excellent talk by Dr. Imran, which highlighted the overall issue which our country is facing and will face in future. This is very important, especially from the policy making point of view. So here I will also present the work which we are doing in our group and in our lab, especially in the area of water treatment. We also work both in the drinking water system and also for the wastewater. Because we know there's a lot of industries which produce a lot of wastewater, mining industries there, textile industries there, and some of the other industries there. So we provide solution by doing different experiments and then propose these solution to the industries. So this is this is about NUST. We are in Islamabad, and these are some of the images of the university in Islamabad. It's a beautiful city. If you see this one, I have just put the number that how much water is available in our Earth. So this is quite a huge number. If you see this one, so Earth hold about 326 million trillion gallon of water. But if you would see, we have only a few percent available, which we utilize for our domestic use or for industrial use. Because most of the water is in the ocean and so on. And as you can see, global water consumption has been increasing steadily for the last maybe 125 years. But we have the same amount of water available. Water is not coming from another planet or something like that. We have the same amount of that few percentage of available water, which was available in 1900 and which is available today. So it's mean then if you just see the water consumption worldwide, agriculture uses a lot of water there, then household about 10%, and then industry they use about 20% of water. So we know we have the same amount of water available. So it's mean the water which is produced is mostly the wastewater. So as you can see, there's a huge industry which is available, which is doing a lot of work to treat the wastewater, the domestic water, or that is from the industry water. And this is where the future solution hold. And some of the countries they have done excellent work to utilize or treat almost the whole water which they produce. Unfortunately, in our countries and most of the countries, this is not the scenario due to both social and technical issues. I have just shown a map here, which is showing the countries which are at high risk of extreme high water stress. And subcontinent is almost there, and Pakistan is there as well. And some of the OIC countries you can see in the Middle East as well. They are facing this issue of the extreme water shortage at the moment and in future as well. So considering the importance of water, this the United Nations has a important role to play. So they have one of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 6, which says that water is one of the fundamental rights for us. And if you see some of the data, UNESCO in 2022, about 2.2 billion people were without access to safe drinking water. So this is a huge issue. So considering these, then there is need for improved water quality, wastewater treatment, and safe use. So this is where the materials which are very important to reuse the water, or even if there's water which is saline water in the ocean, we need these materials and membrane to treat them. So the more water which is become available, because most of the cities, big cities, they are at ocean. So obviously where these technologies play the big role. So considering this, my group has been working for the past several years to develop materials, polymers and membrane, which are being utilized for water treatment for different industries. And then we make them sustainable. Sustainable means that we can reuse them again and again. Because material, when they perform something, maybe they become saturated or there might be other issues. So we have the, processes and the know-how to reuse them, so regenerate them, so they can be reused them again. So this will, this is very important for in terms of sustainability. So different kind of, technologies and fields have been developed. Mostly today I will be focusing on the membrane because this is, I think, Dr. Nisa also mentioned that we have a lot of limitations in terms of the development of the membranes. So in our lab, we have a lot of expertise to develop these membranes, and we are using these ones, at least on the lab scale, and sometimes we do the pilot scale studies, we're using these membranes. So these are some of the industries which we are focusing, and we are providing them solutions, both here in Pakistan and also in abroad. One of the areas mine water treatment, because we know mine they use a lot of water. Like they have some heavy metals with the toxic like chromium, arsenic, sulfate, nitrate, and some of the other metals. Similarly, organic water treatment, like in the textile industries, there's a requirement by many countries, like in Germany, that they ask for the zero liquid discharge. It means water being used in the textile industry, this has to be recycled. So we are also providing services. And then some of the other areas, and also we provide services to the high power energy sectors, because sometimes they need very high purity waters. The water which would not conduct any electricity at all. So it means we move everything from the water, so water becomes insulated. So these are some of the areas, in which we are working. So one of the area which is very important for us is the anti-fouling. Because we know membrane actually basically membrane is basically a filter. You can see this one. So what happened with the time? These filter or pores will become blocked due to several reasons, and one of the reasons that bacteria which are present in water, they attach to the surface of the membrane, the glue, and the pores become blocked. So we work to stop this process. So the membrane they perform well. Membrane they use less energy, and they have more durability. So these are different approaches we develop, because for example, bacteria they have negative charge, so we can put some charges on the membrane, like negative charges, so they repel the bacteria. Or we can put positive charge on the membrane, so they will attack on the membrane of the cell, and they rupture them and kill them. So there are different approaches which we adopt to introduce the antifouling properties into the membrane. This is some of the data which is showing that cost of fouling, because then the pores of the membrane they start to become blocked. So then the cost of treatment becomes very high, and also the time for which we need more water, so we need more time to get that same quantity of water. So it means this has a huge impact on the life of the membrane, on the performance of the membrane, and sometimes we have to stop the plant and then replace the membrane and then bring the new one. So you can imagine that how much time is lost, how much cost is involved. So these are some of the key challenges which we address in our group. These are different kind of membranes. We have microfiltration membrane, which we apply. We have ultrafiltration membrane. We have infiltration membrane. We have reverse osmosis membrane. The basic difference is the size, basically. And the size. So we need more and more, smaller size. But then there is a cost involved as well, because when the size becomes small, we need more pressure. We need more energy to pump the water through these membranes. So one has to find a balance. So in many cases, maybe ultrafiltration membrane is sufficient if you have a proper pre-treatment in the system. So ultrafiltration membrane in many cases perform very well. But obviously, like near the ocean and the sea, we have one structure that is our membrane. So this is just showing the mechanism of the fouling, because I mentioned earlier that we have the pores, when the pores are poured in the membrane, and these foulant, they block these pores, and the membrane becomes blocked, and it is able to not perform as per requirement. So these are the different remediations which we apply in our in our group and in our lab. So we create our own membranes, and then we put certain functional group, and then we check the performance. We have different evaluation and testing methods in which we do the evaluations. I just want to mention that I think I got some data around 2020 that how much cost Pakistan is paying to import the membrane. I'm just talking about Pakistan. It was around $2 to $3 billion, which we are paying as a foreign checker to import the membrane from foreign countries. And maybe if you add some accessories, maybe that amount is much higher than that. These are some of the testing facilities which we have in our lab. The membrane fabrication machine is there. And then these are some of the membrane testing modules which we use. Obviously, when we make a membrane, we need to know how they are performing. Some of the other calculations we also do in our lab, like this is one of the schematic of the cell, they will put the membrane, and some of the other, setup which we have in the lab. So this is basically the mechanism that we make the membranes. We basically fashion or put functionalities on the membrane. So they either repel the bacteria or they kill the bacteria. Because there's a lot of, E. coli and, other bacteria which are present in water. So we actually control the composition of this membrane. So we can overcome the issue of the falling of this membrane. So the performance remained, steady during the life of this membrane. So this data is just showing that what we actually do. I will just show you because this is the structure of the membrane, because we control the top surface of the membrane. We control how many pores we need, what is the pore size we need. I mean, pore density, pore size, and the pore structure too. But this is when we cut the membrane, then we see the internal structure of the membrane. Because obviously what we want, the more water can flow through the membrane, because more water will flow, because if the membrane has more properties like water, so there will be less energy in water. But at the same time, we introduce some certain functionality, so they become less tolerant and remove the bacteria. So different composition and different formulation have been developed. This is one of the membrane, like we have put these functionalities in there. So as you can see, water flux is getting higher and higher because we change the composition of the membrane. So this is graph showing, and the falling is reducing. You see this red curve. So we are having dual function here. One function is that we increase the flux of the membrane because we have introduced certain functionalities which like water, so more water will flow, and at the same time the falling is also reducing. So we are getting both objectives, higher flow but less falling. So this is one of the tests which we perform in our lab. I just want to mention that whenever there is some kind of bacterial infection is there, so we need to know how it is performing. So this is actually what we do. How we check this one? We take our membrane and we put actual drug which is available in the market, and then we see how much bacteria it is removing. We say it's zone of inhibition. I mean, if we put this drug in here, then how much area it is going to cover? There will be no growth of the bacteria, and then we compare our membrane with this standards, and then we measure the distance. So this will tell us that how much concentration of those functionalities we need to put in the membrane. So the whole membrane will not allow the attachment of those bacteria. So this method is known as zone of inhibition. So this kind of test we perform. This is another setup because we can see the different membranes and the flux is getting higher, and also when the pressure is higher, then the flux is also increasing. We can also evaluate the flux curve ratio, because if there is a falling on the membrane, then we also clean the membrane, and then we check that what is the performance of these membrane after falling attachment. So we say flux recovery ratio, because this is the JW2 is the flux of pure water, and JW1 is the flux of JW2 is the flux of water after cleaning membrane, and JW1 is the flux of water when we initially use the membrane. So this ratio will give us that how easy is the membrane to be cleaned, because in many cases, what happens is membrane cannot be cleaned. But because we put the guarantee which will allow to clean the membrane, so this data will also vital for us to know that what is the flux current ratio. Again, some of the other parameters which we check for the anti-fouling systems. Again, another set of membrane. This is another, sometime what we do, we put these, long chain on the surface of the membrane. So we can have higher flux and lower flow. Because these longer chains, they will not allow the bacteria to attach on the surface of the membrane. These are some of the approaches which we adopt to stop the falling of the membranes. I will just highlight here. This data is showing that if we use our solid membrane, then there will be if the membrane which is falling, it will use much higher energy. But if we use our membrane, they will use 75% less energy because cores are not being blocked. And also because these membranes are light water, so the water flow quite easily with these well. So at the end, we also work with the carbon-based material because activated carbon and these materials, they are much cheaper. So we fractionalize these carbon materials and then we use these materials to activated carbon and graphene and CNTs. So we put these into the membrane to enhance the performance of these membrane because in many cases, they're just showing the textile industry, they use it. And if we don't treat the water, which is going into the rivers and canals and lakes, then there will be a lot of issues. Even in the ocean, if they not treated water goes, there will be a lot of issues in that sense. These are some of the commonly used dyes in textiles. So we have done a lot of experiments with these dyes which prove that these membranes they perform quite efficiently both negatively charged dyes and positively charged dyes. So these are some of the other modeling which we do. These are the structural membranes. At the end, I would like to say what is very much about global leadership to achieve sustainable development goals. Potential payoff for innovation will lead to survival of parent population and also accumulation. Effort, both finances and research, need to be proactive and innovative with the pragmatic hand. A responsive ear and a visionary eye. So these are some of our funding agencies. And at the end, I would also like my students who work. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Nasir. Mike. Thank you, Dr. Nasir, for sharing your scientific work with us, and which shows that now it is a high time these scientific work should move from the university and the R&D organizations labs into the industrial setup for the mass production. Thank you. Now we will go for the panel discussion, and I would now invite my panelists. One first panelist is Mr. Sardar Khan Zimri, Director General, Water and Sanitation Directorate, Capital Development Authority, Islamabad. And he is holding more than 30 years of the experience in the Capital Development Authority. And he is the man behind all the water and sanitation systems of the Capital Development Authority. And I would just say that he has done a tremendous job to improve the water supply systems in Islamabad and addressing the water shortages, and still he is working on several things which he will share in the panel discussion. The next speaker is my colleague Dr. Ghulam Murtaza, Regional Director, PCRWR Karachi office, And he is always a very encouraging and ambitious researcher who has passed 17 years in the water quality assessment, environmental monitoring, water management, and capacity building. And my next panelist is Dr. Syed Ali Mustajab, Associate Professor, Environmental Chemistry, Comstet University. And he has his PhD in Health and Environment from the Qaid-e-Azam University and postdoc from the Chinese Academy of Sciences and D-Lab, MIT, USA. And my last panelist, who was also a keynote speaker, is again Professor Dr. Nasir Ahmed Sahab. Now we start with the questions. My first question is from Dr. Syed Ali Mustajab. Dr. Saab, can you please elaborate that what kind of the challenges OIC country are facing in terms of the water scarcity, and what innovative strategies and solutions, including policy, technology, and promotion of the technologies OIC countries are undertaking to address these challenges?
Different OIC countries, especially some African countries and the countries in the Asian countries like Pakistan, and we are facing a lot of challenges. Like we are technological skill countries, and most of the OIC countries don't have the baseline data about from different non-conventional sources and some conventional sources. Even we don't have the. Like in Pakistan, recently we were working with British Geological Survey, and we map out some of the groundwater resources like Professor Syed Imran. He just shared that we have the water scarcity problem, but we just discovered that we have water access in few areas, like in the south region and some of the areas in other provinces. We have excess water, and that excess water is becoming a problem. The soil salinity and some of the other water quality issues we are facing because of the excess of the water. The groundwater level is exceeding. So we are making some policy and how to manage some agriculture policy and some developmental policy. We're exhausting more and more. We're exhausting the upper Punjab areas which is already water scarce and water deficient areas. So we should use some, information technology. We should use some modeling techniques, satellite data sets to, first of all, to lay out the problem, to establish what is the problem and how to solve it. And secondly, about the technologies, I think we should use a cocktail of the different technologies. We already discussed about using, some constructed wetlands, some plantation. So we should have along with some expensive techniques, Professor Nasir here, we should prioritize and we should map out where to use the expensive technology and where to use, some wastewater and the gray water. We can segregate the different. We should make a consolidated policy that where to, to save because we are the economy is a big challenge. Like we don't have enough funds, especially the Pakistan, Afghanistan, and some of the other, developing countries. So we should prioritize the utilization of technology in different sectors. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. And this is a very important point that we need to prioritize the technologies for the water. And here I want to give an example of Jordan, which has actually started a national water conservation program, specifically focusing on the refugees to educate them how to conserve the water. How to conserve the water, and they trained about 25,000 religious persons on the water conservation, who have been delivering the different types of the sermons during the Friday prayers and during the church sessions. And as a result of that project, which is still ongoing, Jordan also assessed that the impact was like 60% of the water saving. So I think sometimes we see the big pictures, we see the big dams, and we ignore the small interventions and the small approaches. Small approaches also are very, very important, and sometimes those are not very visible, but they actually create a indirect visible impact. Uh, some of the similar kind of the things are being undertaken by the Capital Development Authority. Some of their things are very, very visible, like a big wastewater treatment system. And there's some of these approaches which Zimri Saab will share are not very visible in terms of the groundwater, which the years ago, sometimes there was a slogan of the World Water Day that invisible, visible, and that was about the groundwater. And so I will ask Zimri Sahab, who is the Director General, Capital Development Authority, that as a capital of Pakistan, Islamabad, it faces the different types of the water scarcity challenges in its different residential and the commercial sector. What key measures you are taking to convert this city into the water sustainable city? And how is CDA working towards transforming Islamabad into a model city with respect to the water distribution and water management?
Pakistan is one of the most beautiful cities. But we have, like other cities, we have the scarcity of the water in Islamabad. Because we have a population of 2.4 million, including rural and urban areas. The city is only serving in the urban area presently, but a new Islamabad water agency is underway to constitute all the services, the water, sewage water, and groundwater will be further by its maintenance and operation. We have on the urban area of the Islamabad, we have demand of 120 million gallon per day. Unfortunately, we have maximum capacity of 30 million gallon per day, or 40% we shortfall in the urban area. To consider the city has taken this since last year different measures, especially in the rainwater harvesting pilot project with the technical assistance of the PCR area Islamabad. We have constructed about 100 recharges. Up to now, last 2 years, we inject about 127 million gallon in the filters. It is a good achievement, good examples. Now the city is converting this proposal, this recommendation at the household level, and the city bylaws has improved their bylaws, and every house construct small recharge will or the injection of the rooftop water into the filters. For example, if we have a one sector 2 by 2 kilometer, its rooftop area is about 45%. I think this is not 50%. If I take only 30% of the rainwater, which rainfall average of 13 millimeter in Islamabad, if I inject only 30% of this water, Islamabad will cover its 30% demand of the residential water to its consumers if it is resident. It's just their proposal is just the assessment. It is just way to further improve this project. Meanwhile, since last year, for the betterment of the supply, I personally look after this system. I have saved about 10 million gallons per day water by the replacement of the refrigerated network and the improvement of the treatment plants, water works, and everything since last year. Because before 3 years, we receiving complaints about 800 to 1,000 per day from the consumer. Now, alhamdulillah, we just receiving 100 to 150. This resulting the achievement and the improvement in the water supply system. But in the same manner, we have new projects for the Islamabad, like Shadra Dam projects, which is new dam upstream of the senior dam, Udara Dam upstream of the Kanpur Dam, which will assist the perennial source and the rainwater source for the fresh water in the system. And about we have getting 30 million gallon from the groundwater through 200 tubes. It is very also I think time in the winter season, I at least I stop about 30 to 35 tubes to save the groundwater because the demand is there area nowadays in winter and as increase in the summer season, then we again update these two as well. We have one of the major source of the modesty, we considering the Indus River project, which is pending since last 20 years, one or other reasons because of the government policies and otherwise, from which we are getting 100 million megawatt for Islamabad. If I get this river water, because the existing dam only on the monsoon season, if I have enough water, enough rain in the catchment area, then I get maximum reserve capacity in the reservoir. If there is no rain due to climate change, the last 5 years, we have only 7 to 90% refill the reservoir. And before that, every time we open the we raise the water through the dams. But unfortunately, the major project of the Islamabad or modesty of the Indus River not expanded since long. But in the 2011, its study carried only its expenditure only 42 billions. In 2000, the revised piece on it moved up to 92, 93 billion rupees. Presently, I think it will be 150 million will be cost will be of this. Because the project is in the government of Pakistan and the government of Punjab and CDA will know what caring of this. In the construction of this project, it is not 24/7 supply in the reason Islamabad. That is the main reason. The presently we are seeing different projects, unfortunately in Islamabad of the underpasses, construction of the road infrastructure, but unfortunately they are not interested in the water projects, especially to look after like this shape of dams and the water, rainwater harvesting and other source, but there is no such clarity for the authority, the government, or the many times in the meeting I told they are developing new sector. My question is, there is no water in Islamabad, development new sector. Because we are a poor sector without water, just drinking water from the groundwater or from the sector service.
Thank you, Zimri Saab. So we make it brief due to the time constraint. Now my next question is from Dr. Ghulam Murtaza. As we have recently come to know that the top 10 biggest desalination projects exist in Saudi Arabia, Israel, and UAE. And fortunately, the 7 to 8 projects are in the OIC member countries, which are Saudi Arabia and the Middle East. I want to understand from you, like, what strategies these countries have adopted to overcome the challenges in promoting and establishing the desalination models, and how Pakistan can utilize this learning from these countries to establish our own models in Pakistan.
Thank you, Dr. Ibrahim. The OIC countries like Middle East and Saudi Arabia, they are working on desalination since the 50s. In Kuwait, they have first desalination in the 50s. In Saudi Arabia, they are shown in your morning presentation, Rasul Khair and other cities, they are producing more than 90% of their potable water through desalination. Like UAE and Qatar and other countries. Initially, their desalination systems were based on the multi-stage filtration MSA, and they were mostly on the thermal distillation, which are more energy dependent systems. And after that, they have shifted their desalination system on energy efficient membranes. And their systems are much successful. And besides this, they have a concrete strategy for the implementation of their desalination process or desalination technologies. Likewise, they have a corporation like Saline Water Conservation Corporation that is the responsible for the desalination throughout the country in Saudi Arabia. Similarly, if we compare to the Pakistan, we have not clear-cut any strategy or policy for the desalination. Even the national water policy there is no guidelines or strategy or plan for the desalination. No doubt, we have a potential for the desalination. If we see from the Dean to the other, it is around 1,050 kilometer area. That is have a much potential for the desalination of seawater desalination for the potable water to the coastal cities like Karachi and Gwadar. Unfortunately, I'm just sharing here some experiences of our country as compared to the OIC countries like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Oman, UAE. They have a successful model, but in our countries, we have installed back 1 decade desalination plant in Karachi, capacity of 5 MGD. They have a desalination plant more than 200 MGDs, 270, 100 MGDs, 300 MGDs per day. But we have installed 500 MGD after one month of operation. The plant was non-functional. It is a non-functional. The reason was some technical parts and capacities and the availability of spare parts. And other example is 2 MGD plant was installed in 2010 in Gwadar city. The experience was the same as for the desalination plant installed in Karachi, and that plant was just operated on the day of inauguration. After that, it is still non-functional till today. Then another, I said, unfortunate example where the provincial government has installed desalination plants and brackish water, ground water in our Parker district. The potable water is not available and the people are dependent totally on the groundwater, the brackish water. They have installed some mega plants like in cities, Mithi, and it's not, they were hybrid type. Some portion of that desalination plant was on solar system and half of the electric system. Initially, it was a successful for the period of contract period with the company who has installed for 3 years. After that, we have the same experience. It is now the non-functional. It is working with around 10 to 15% its efficiency. The government has also installed more than 700 desalination plants on the groundwater in Parker district, but the experience is not good. Even now, they are the more than 60%. They are non-functional.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ghulam Murtaza, for highlighting the challenges we face in terms of the sustainability of all these systems, which are actually developed on the principle of the build, neglect, and rebuild. I think we need a comprehensive research on this agenda, that why we are failing all these centralized and even decentralized system. Thank you very much. My closing question is from Professor Nasir, that what steps can OIC countries they should take to establish manufacturing facilities for these membrane, and what is the potential can we do, or will there be again a failure if we establish such facilities? How government can support, what role industry can play, and how this dream can be possible that any of our OIC country have its own water treatment manufacturing facilities?
Thank you very much, Rajni. As that some OIC countries like Saudi Arabia, they are the biggest desalination plant in the world. This is the national plant. It is a hybrid plant, and it is producing over 1 million meter cube per day water, and it is also producing 2,400 megawatt electricity as well. So this is a hybrid plant. So, and then some other countries in the Middle East, these are in the OIC. So it means technology is there. And your question is about the manufacturing of the membranes. So I would like to mention that in 2020 I visited China. And China has not been able to produce their own outer membrane so far. It is the American or Western companies who have put up the plants in China who are manufacturing those membranes. I'm talking about outer membrane. But then there's a lot of market available for other membranes like ultrafiltration membrane, the microfiltration membrane. And in many cases, maybe for the ocean region, we need our membrane. But for many part of the countries, we don't need our membrane. We can work fine with these ultrafiltering membrane and microfiltering membrane because pre-treatment systems are available now, which can really keep the water very well, which can lead to use of the some of the very good ultrafiltering membrane, which can be developed like in Pakistan and some other countries. Like maybe Turkey is quite advanced in some of these technologies. Malaysia is there as well. So if OIC countries, they become partnering some kind of consortium, or maybe we can set up an institute, especially if there's already an institute where they can come together and get the expertise from different countries. So then there's a possibility that we can start actually from microfiltration membranes, because we can make these membrane microfilters in the lab, and we have that ability as well. So initially, and then once we want to expand this to the industrial scale, obviously then we need a lot of feasibility studies like operating costs, like capital costs, and break even, all these kind of things which we need. So making these membrane is possible because we have the technical expertise, and many experts are available in the OIC countries which are working in some of these plants in the West, in the universities and industries, whose expertise as well as and another possibility is that we can just get a license from these Western companies to manufacture membrane here. So this is possible. Maybe we can say we can have five-year time manufacturing facilities to locate our needs for the our membrane and microfilters in ultrafiltration membrane. And the second question, because it was mentioned that some of these plants which were established in Karachi and Gwadar, because I was involved when that plant in Gwadar did not function. Then the Ministry of Science and Technology at that time, they approached the university here, and then they approached me as well. What was the issue? That there was systems that were not compatible, because the membranes are there, pre-treatment is there, the pump are there, they were not compatible with each other. So that was making a huge issue in terms of the performance of the plant, because they were not able to run to their maximum capacity. Maybe they were able to run to half of its capacity sometime later, but the comfort of these plants, they were not compatible. So if they are not compatible with the sea, you cannot run the plant. These are the issues. And also, like the plant in Karachi or maybe in Gwadar, you need a lot of pre-treatment as well. And it's not very difficult to run these plants. As long as you follow all these protocols and SOPs, you can run these plants. When there's a requirement for to change something, then you have to change it. When there's a need to clean these membranes, you have to follow those protocols, because you have to give a lot of training to these technical person. These plants are available, provided that you have compatible components, because a lot of parts are involved. And then you have the expertise, technical expertise, because these membranes can go maybe at least 3 years, maybe 5 years as well. So these are, I think, key challenges which we have, and I think this can be addressed.
Thank you, Dr. Nasir. So in conclusion, I would say that in addition to the financial resources, we hugely need technical expertise, and we need to build the technical expertise in this particular area. In addition to the wastewater treatment and the desalination, rainwater harvesting was also the non-conventional water source, but I could see that it has been discussed well in the first session. So we have not much focused in this session on the rainwater harvesting, but here I want to share that Capital Development Authority has recently included some of the interventions for the consumers in for the adopting the rooftop rainwater harvesting systems. Zimri Sab, can you please share this change or some inclusions in the building codes or your CDA bylaws?
CDA bylaws included by the building control section, the separate department CDA. They included in the before that they have included the underground tanks. Now, addition to underground tanks, they are going to construct a recharge well as well, just like they get a water from the small bowls for their own purposes.
the same river system to take rainwater to the rooftop rainwater after the small bucket of the chamber filtered, and then they go back filtered back to this recharge well. It is also, we have many houses, they have their own do this one, but no, the CDA go to compulsory to construct these one, especially these houses who have their own bores because they have getting additional water. CDA applies supply water. In addition, they are gardening for the garden, for the washing purposes. The CDA forced to construct these household recharge well.
Thank you, Zimri sir. Thank you very much, all the panelists and keynote speakers. Now I would invite Dr. Bashir Ahmed for the closing remarks. Dr. Bashir Ahmed is Director for Climate, Energy and the Water Research Institute, and currently he is working in Pakistan Agriculture Research Council. And he is having more than 25 years of professional experience.
To PCRWR and comstech for holding this very important conference. And I think this session was highly important. Unfortunately, I would say this wastewater treatment is highly important, but in Pakistan is highly under focus by the public institution as well as by the development partners. Although it has great implications on our daily life in terms of fresh water availability, in terms of its impact on human health as well as agriculture and livestock as well. So unfortunately, very have been less focused, and I'm happy that this conference has highlighted this. And there have been a lot of good presentation by Dr. Imran as well as by Dr. Nasser Saab and by Dr. Imran. So he has a lot of wider presentation, but I mean, key takeaway was in terms of importance of water diplomacy with Afghanistan is highly important because we may in future have its consequences until and we don't engage with Afghanistan, and yeah, highly important in terms of revisiting, evaluating, or have some discussion on Pakistan water procurement card, and it's very important, and there have been a lot of gaps in that, and we will overcome these gaps as well as the gaps in the IWT and water treaties, especially in terms of its gap on addressing of ecological flows as well as groundwater flows, and we need not to hide the things, we need to openly discuss. And very important by Dr. Nasser in terms of the membrane as well as other important technological development in Pakistan. There's a need how we can upscale these technologies and make it more. In terms of yes, in the panel discussion, good discussion, I would say. And we know, and as has been highlighted, very good successful model globally available as well as in the Islamic countries. But unfortunately, Pakistan lacks this one, and we did have some efforts, but as I said that we were not successful. We need not to review and I mean, learn the lessons, and I feel maybe in wastewater treatment or desalination, there's an engagement. We must engage the private sector, as public institution cannot do all the jobs, and especially public institution efficiency in Pakistan is very weak. So we need to engage the private sector and how we can engage other avenues as well. So The CDA, yes, have been doing a good job in terms of water availability, new avenues, as well as this rainwater harvesting environment, just good effort. And I think with the relevance with this, the topic, Azimbi sir, I think, forgot to mention about the wastewater treatment, some of the efforts CDA is doing and BS is contributing, so that they have some of the pilot project of the biological wastewater treatment and how the rainwater harvesting, how CDA can improve the bylaws for this wastewater treatment, especially in the new emerging societies. So with that, thank you very much. I congratulate and thank all organizers as well as participants as well as panelists for this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bashir, for the closing remarks, and thank you all the audience for your presence in this session and bearing all the deliberations. Now I would hand over this session to Ms. Hazima for the initiating the closing session.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Dr. Hafza. Firstly, I would like to thank you for moderating the last session of the two-day workshop. So as you know that we are coming to the end of the two-day international workshop here. And with this, we will be moving to the distribution ceremony, certificate distribution ceremony for our resource persons. But before this, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Khurshid Hasnain, who is the advisor Comstech and also the focal person of this workshop, to please for his vote of thanks. Professor Dr. Khurshid Hasnain. Okay, okay. Okay, my apologies. For this, for the closing remarks, I would request Professor Dr. Kamran Ansari to please come on the podium and say a few words for our participants and speakers.
Well, thank you so much, Hazima. I don't know if I'm audible, hopefully so. Well, I will need to, thank everybody, especially the panelists, the keynote speakers, our delegates from abroad for participating in this wonderful workshop. It was a two-day workshop which had basically three themes. The first theme was around the climate change and sustainable water resources management. It included, keynote speeches by our distinguished guests, and then some panel discussions, and then we had a very good question and answer sessions. So, and the second theme was around role of better governance in the water resources management, whereas the third theme was sustainable use of non-conventional water resources. I will just highlight the takeaways of each of these themes, starting with the theme number one. I have just put in, few points, as a takeaway. Theme number one, strengthening the regional cooperation and knowledge sharing to enhance climate resilience and water security. Number two, promoting sustainable water management practices, including water conservation, efficient use, and protection of water resources. Number three, supporting climate change adaptation and mitigation efforts through capacity building, technology transfer, and financing mechanisms. And number four, encouraging inclusive and participatory approaches to climate change and water management engaging local communities, civil society, and private sector. From the theme number 2, which is role of better governance in water resources management, the key takeaways may be strengthening institutional framework and coordination mechanisms to enhance policy coherence and implementation. Number 2, promoting transparency, accountability, and participation in water decision-making processes, encouraging IWRM approaches that balance social, economic, and environmental considerations. And number 4, building capacity and enhancing knowledge sharing among water professionals, stakeholders, and communities. The key takeaways from theme number 3, which is sustainable use of non-conventional water resources, as I understood, integrate non-conventional water resources into national water strategies. This is very important. Then carry out technical and economic feasibility assessments to see what is feasible and what is not, and as well as environmental and health impact evaluations when you are talking about non-conventional, water resources. Then promote public awareness and educational campaigns to raise awareness about the benefits and risks associated with non-conventional water resources. And then encourage research and development to improve the efficiency, effectiveness, and sustainability of non-conventional water resources, like we have been hearing about the use of membranes and so on and so forth, are very important. So as we conclude, I would like to, highlight the following action items. I mean, I don't know, because, but this is according to me, that because now we will be going back to our countries, maybe, because we have delegates from abroad coming from various countries. So maybe development of a regional action plan, maybe. We will work together to develop a regional action plan on climate change and sustainable water resources management, outlining concrete steps and commitments for OIC member states and beyond maybe. Number 2, establishment of a regional network maybe. That we will establish a regional network of water experts and stakeholders to facilitate knowledge sharing, collaboration, and capacity building. And then organization of follow-up workshop, This was a very important workshop organized by Comstech and its partners, the EMI and the PCRWR. But I mean, let us hope that we will be organizing follow-up workshops and training programs to support the implementation of the regional action plan to build capacity in the OIC, member states. So let us work together on these items into reality to make a meaningful difference into lives of our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for summarizing and refreshing the technical themes that were covered in this two-day workshop. And your remarks have rightfully provided us with the agenda of action for the future planning. With this, now I request Professor Dr. Khurshid Hasnain, Advisor Comstech and the focal person of this workshop, to please for his vote of thanks.
It's my very pleasant duty to thank all of you for contributing so meaningfully to this activity in your various capacities as the keynote speakers, as the moderators, as the rapporteurs, and of course, all the participants. And once again, special thanks to our guests from abroad, Dr. Majid, Dr. Dilesh, you have added very significantly, very meaningfully to the discussions in this session. Special also thanks to all members of our technical committee who have worked very hard to organize this Dr. Ashraf, thank you very much for all your efforts. Dr. Hifza, thank you so much from Comstech for this effort. And Dr. Imran and Dr. Mohsin is no longer here with us today. But thanks to all of these members of technical committee, without whose efforts this could not have been possible to arrange such a meaningful and I would say learning experience for many of us over here. It's also, I think, my duty to thank all the officers and staff of Comstech who have contributed in various ways to make the event successful. As you know, it's a difficult process to organize on an international scale. And from all parts of Pakistan, we have tried to have these contributions. So firstly, my secretary, Mr. Jamil, who has worked very hard to organize, to work to this arrange all the logistics, Muhammad Jamil, the administration of Comstech, Dr. Aftab Zaidi and his team, the finance team, and the logistics of transport, the drivers, the hospitality and the guest house managers in the cafeteria. All of them deserve your round of applause to thank them for their effort. Finally, just one word, I was listening to the summing up just before me, and I wanted to say something on that. Initially, we had planned this workshop in parallel with another activity of the OIC, which was their meeting of the various water research centers of the OIC. A networking meeting was supposed to be held. But then for some reason, that meeting was postponed and it will be held later. So what I would suggest to Dr. Ashraf and other members of the technical committee and to our guests from Dr. Dilair and Dr. Majid, is if you can interact between yourself and have some kind of an outcome document of this discussion, what recommendations you present for further follow-up. So what we can do from Comstech is to present that to that meeting of the networking meeting, where the water counts, where the various research centers of the OIC countries will be represented. And I think they hope to have a fairly large number of countries to be represented. It's not organized by us principally, it's really organized by the OIC. We will be hosting it probably in Karachi at the Panjwani Sar Center. So that's my suggestion. If you can work on it, we would be happy to forward it as one of the items to be considered at the networking meeting. So with that, I come to the end of what I had to say, and I think we will be having our certificate distribution. Just one word about that. The participants can get their certificates outside from the distribution desk. Here we will distribute the certificates to all the resource persons of the workshop, and we have special Comstech seals for the 2 overseas guests. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your kind remarks. Now, as Dr. Sab said, we are moving toward certificate distribution ceremony for our resource persons. This is a gesture of gratitude to honor the contribution of all the resource persons, international and the local ones, whose expertise, dedication have significantly enhanced the learning experience of the participants, I'm sure. So to do this, to do the honor, I request Professor Dr. Khurshid and Professor Dr. Ashraf to please come on the front so that we can award certificate and shields to our international speakers. So first, may I invite Professor Dr. Majid Labaf to please come and receive his shield and certificate.
Thank you very much.